Good evening, folks. Welcome back to another Wednesday night hobby hangout. Of course, he checks the sound, makes sure everything's all right. Yes, Monday's night was a bit of a how can we put it? It was a bit of a technical difficulties night, wasn't it? Anything that could go wrong, I think, went wrong. Randomly, I've still got no idea what it was. Everything's sorted now. Anyway, let's say hello to the fine folks who've joined us from the start here. We've got Marcus the Super Pumpkin Man. This is afternoon, everyone. He was in a bit earlier, and we had Lord Maiden in morning, everyone. Hello to you, mate. Connor was in as well, nice and early. Mark Wright, Ortega, hello in the catch-up, buddy. Krabby said he's painting, but he's listening in. Nice to see you, Krabby, mate. Looking forward to seeing what you've done. It sounded very interesting what you were painting. We've got Joachim as well, said he's picking up his son, so he'll join a bit later when he gets home. Hello, Joachim, if you watch this bit back, I'll see you when you join us. We've got, I almost said Blackjack Legacy there. Of course I'm here. Jeff Hickton, hello to you, mate. Hello, Blizzard says, hello, is this thing on? Nice to see you, Blizz. John Estel said he's painting, he's batch painting red tonight. What you up to, mate? What you painting? Christian, good evening, mate. Nice to see you, fella. Busey's in as well, saying evening, hobby hooligans. That's definitely the new thing for Wednesdays now, hobby hooligans. I like that. Gareth Lewis, hello to you, fella. Luke Pryor says, evening all, how we're doing? Hope Blackjack Legacy does not need the toilet break during the stream. I'm painting my mate's minis for Spectre Ops board game tonight. I would not have built that 3D printing desk thing over the top of the toilet if I didn't have access to another toilet, mate. Ram Design says, hello from Canada, new to the stream. Welcome, Ram Design. Thank you very much for joining us, and thank you for saying hello. We get a lot of people who just kind of like linger in the background and just watch, so thank you very much for chatting. Paul Inman says, Monday was a fiasco. It wasn't that bad, mate. To be fair, I managed to pull it off. Good evening, Anna, as well. Red Rose Wargaming, I hope you're well. Gareth Lewis says, it was down to the excitement of the resin printer. Do you know what it is? The print. I thought the printer would be the biggest amount of problems this week. I didn't think the screen would have been. But yeah, I don't know what it was. I mean, literally all I've done is turn my computer off on Monday, and then Tuesday I turned it back on to make sure everything was all right, and it was like, yeah, none of the problems I had on Monday were there anymore. Turn it off and turn it on again, I think was the answer. Although I did do that before the stream on Monday as well. Colin Wakeland, hello to you, Colin. Hope you're well. ASDF, good evening. We've got Colton Lane as well, so he's going to be working on some Zombicide Black Plague. Nice choice, matey. Have you backed the new one? I think you've only got about 24 hours left to go, haven't we? Frantic says, good evening, everyone. He's finishing the assembly of his Dreadball teams tonight. I was going to mention the Dreadball stuff. How's everyone's Dreadball teams coming along? I've completed my first one. I'm about halfway through a second one now. So yeah, I've had a few people send in emails with their painted teams, but not too many. I'll have to give everyone a bit of a nudge tomorrow, I think. Paul says if it wasn't a fiasco, maybe it was just a debacle. I would like to say it was a bit of a kerfuffle. That's what it was, mate. Johnson, I would not have built that shelf over the toilet if I didn't have access to another one. Oh, excellent aim. Not for sitting down, mate. Wayne Haywood, hello, he says, long time viewer, nice to have you on live while I'm hobbying, finish varnishing Dread Lawmaster and priming some Imperial Assault minis. Nice, mate. Glad to have you as a viewer. Bit of background chat while you're hobbying away there, mate. Where are we up to? VJ, good morning to you, fine sir. Luke says, I might actually paint a Dreadball team, but I do need to get my mate's bits done. Yeah, that's it, mate. You know you have to get your mate's rates sorted first. Christian said his Dreadball teams are still in the box. Low Main says, I'm working on a third Dreadball team, the last main player before the knocked out ones. Yeah, I've got some priming to do on a team of mine as well, actually. Colton said he's just backed a new one today. Was debating, but they finally pulled me in with those great sculpts. I know I said ages ago I wasn't going to get pulled in on the Kickstarter and stuff like that and all of the different bits and pieces, but I'll be honest, I mean, there is a hell of a lot for the money. If I hadn't just bought the printer, it might be an easier choice. Stu saying, good evening all, fingers crossed for no gremlins in the works tonight. So far, so good, mate. I think that's the best bit. If we can get through the first 5 minutes without any issues, we tend to be all right. Blizz is saying he's more or less done with his Red Ball team, just got to finish the bases. A nice one. VG says, that reminds me I need to send the pics of his Blitzball team. You do, mate. Marcus says, so I made a decision to buy pay the Patreon to Raging Heroes to get their new Greek gods miniatures, but just for 1 month. Is this a 3D printing thing, mate? Is that what it is? Busey says, your Judge Dredd print looked great. How long did it take? I've got it here actually, mate, to show you. It took 14 hours, mate. Or was it about 13, 14 hours, I think it was. I kind of set it away like after dinner, before dinner last night, and then left it to print overnight. I did have a little check on it to make sure that it was kind of, you can pause the printer and it kind of like the bed goes up and you can have a little look at it to see how it's doing. So I did pause it after about 2 or 3 hours just to make sure that the build was taking shape and it was all right. And then I basically just kind of like blew it a kiss and went to bed and hoped it was still there in the morning. And when I got up this morning, this fine thing was standing proudly. Actually, it was hanging upside down, but yeah, it was there, mate. So just to kind of give you for context, against like a normal miniature, this is the Mythos miniatures that we'll be painting this evening. That gives you an idea of the size of the bust versus that. And as a comparison from the other bust, the Deadpool bust that I was painting a little while ago, that gives you an idea. Let me just move that across a bit. That gives you an idea of the size of them. But yeah, this is the first kind of big thing that I've printed on my new printer, and I'll kind of just get in nice and close to it and see some, because I know like sort of people like to see the kind of like the detail and stuff, and it's hard to do on photographs and stuff. So if I kind of zoom in and see around the face and stuff, I mean there's no kind of visible print lines or anything. That is super smooth there. You kind of see like kind of, I mean there is some kind of like little dints and stuff, but they're sculpted in, to be fair. They're not there, it wasn't like damage or anything. You can kind of see there on the Dread badge. But yeah, I am super pleased with the detail on that. Kind of see around the, like even where was it, like even on the arms and stuff, you can almost see like kind of like the veins on the muscles kind of like just poking through and stuff. But yeah, it's on the eagle on the side there and things. So yeah, I am absolutely bit of a little crack in the helmet. I mean, you can kind of see it there. It's funny because it's hardly visible to the naked eye, but actually you can see there the layers. But actually, if you run your hand over it, it is super smooth. It's I think it's actually just the way the light's hitting it there, to be fair. But yeah, so I'm really happy with how that came out. And to be honest, I think one of the things that really tipped me over the edge, because I said before I've been like looking into this for about 12 months now, was when Christian sent me this and another one as well, a Hulk model, like a Hulk kind of thing, and I actually got to see the quality sort of firsthand. I'd seen all the pictures online and things, but there's nothing like actually physically holding it in your hand and being able to see it. And once I saw the quality of this, because this one's just the same as well. If I zoom into this one as well, I know it's had like primer and it's been painting and stuff. I just move that one. The details just the same on this as well. Super crisp. Yeah, it needs finishing off, of course. I'm getting there, but I just keep like sort of painting it a little bit now and then when I feel like it. But yeah, it's purely, I think it was seeing it firsthand that really did kind of push me over the edge and say, yeah, like the technology has got to a point where it is it's more than good enough for the stuff that I'll use it for, and the price is affordable now as well. And that was another reason why I didn't go for kind of like wait and spend more on a 4K printer. I mean, if that's the kind of quality I'm getting off, just sort of, it's not even like the latest model, if you like. If that's the kind of quality I'm getting off that, I'm not really sure why I'd even sort of spend more on it. Right, let's have a little chat here. Fiji says, where are we sending them again, Andy? Email them to blackjacklegacy@gmail.com. Thank you very much, mate. Tasty Brain Drain, good evening to you. John says he's got his first Dreadball team done. Is it Sphere? Oh, yeah. Getting ready for the next one. Yellow and blue Brockers, nice one. Peter said he started his Dreadball team but lost my paint, honest. Mark says, Super Punkman Man, yeah, it's a 3D printing file set. Nice one, mate. Vijay says, glad to hear it. Tasty Brent says, I know I said this on Facebook already, but I just wanted to say congratulations again on being named a hobby hero. Thank you very much, mate. Yeah, for those that don't know, Mantic had like a bit of a hobby hero thing where people could nominate people in the community who they felt were sort of worthy of a nomination. And amazingly, and I was honoured and humbled by it. But yeah, I was nominated by a few people, and Mantic picked me as one of their hobby heroes. So again, anybody that nominated me or kind of has ever said a kind word about me, thank you so much. I don't do this stuff for kind of recognition or anything like that. I'm not doing this to kind of be well known or to be famous or any of that kind of like sort of bollocks. But it's just nice that people appreciate like kind of these streams and the work that I do. So yeah, thank you very much, folks. I really appreciate that. Wayne says, loving that bust. Well, hey. Yeah, it's pretty nice, mate, isn't it? Marcus says, I will be working on my St. Patrick's Day hobby hangout mini and my mini. So I must admit, I had to check today to see if it was St. Patrick's Day, because I remember us talking about it last week, and then it suddenly dawned on me when I was putting the thumbnail together. I was like, didn't we say we're going to paint something green next week? But yeah, it's next weekend, isn't it? Luke says, yeah, the detail looks crazy. It's super, super smooth, mate. Honestly, it's really nice. Marcus says, VG, I just could not get those figures out of my head, and I know I put in my room as a display piece. Yeah, if you like them, mate, that's the way to go. Luke says, I can't explain how much I want to paint that and have it on my shelf. We might be able to come to some arrangement, mate. Peter says, congratulations to our hobby hero, well deserved. I had a feeling it might happen. To be honest, mate, I purposefully didn't mention it when Mantic kind of like announced it because I wanted to share it, because I wanted people to nominate the people that they felt had been kind of like sort of helping and like kind of good community members. But I thought, you know what, if I share this, it looks like I'm kind of fishing for votes and stuff like that, and I did not want kind of any part of that, really. I didn't want people thinking, oh well he only won because he asked everybody to vote for him, kind of thing. I didn't want to kind of like even put that into people's heads, so I purposefully didn't share the stuff. So yeah, it was a surprise, actually. I'll be honest, when I got the nudge yesterday to see it happened. Colton says, that looks awesome. Might have to look into getting a 3D printer in a few years, if and when I've got some more space. You do need a little bit of space, mate. Monday's live stream I was talking about that, really. Just because you've got space on a desk that will fit a printer, it does not take into account the fact that you need an area to be able to kind of like clean and prep things and stuff. The space I've got in there is kind of, I personally probably wouldn't want anything smaller than that. So yeah, you do need some space for it, mate. Where was this one? Busey says, I've downloaded the file and going to give it a go. Yeah, it's a free file, mate. Yeah, for anybody that was wondering, that Judge Dredd file, I didn't buy it. It's a free file on my mini factory. I think it's a guy called Eastman who does a lot of different files. I think he actually sculpted the Deadpool one as well. And I think the name's actually on the back of the thing there. If I go to Eastman, I think he's the sculptor of these files. So yeah, it's a free file, mate. You just basically download it. You put your settings in your supports and stuff, and away you go. VG says, looks great, Andy. As I said, you're very game of you going for such a big print so soon. Kudos to you. I've just, before the stream started, mate, I've just put a Darth Vader bust on as well, which is a little bit bigger than this one. And this is the first one that I've really sort of spent a bit more time putting the raft in place and all the supports underneath and stuff to try and because I had when I said about this one, I'd kind of had a few issues with the base, where I think what I did was I'd had a few failed prints because they'd broken away from the support underneath, and I didn't do a good job of the base of it, basically, and I had to file a little bit of it up. You can't tell just looking at it, but it wasn't perfect when it came off the base bit. The one I'm doing at the moment, which will be done about 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, yeah, that one. So we'll see how that one goes. Luke says, okay, you send me the bust, then that'll push me over the edge. Honestly, mate, just being able to see the detail and like feel how smooth they are. Like I've seen loads of like 3D printed stuff with the plastic stuff that has really visible layer lines, and I've always thought, like, the technology is fantastic. I'm impressed by it, but like I want it for miniatures. I want it for kind of like for busts and that kind of stuff. I don't want it to make usable things, if you like, which I think that kind of printing is fantastic for. But yeah, once I actually got my hands on it, yeah. Beauty said, need to knock the size down, it won't fit in the build plate. Yeah, it wouldn't fit on mine either, mate. I had to knock the size down. I think I went down to something like, was it? It must have been about like 70% of the file size or something like that. Where are we? I just jumped ahead a little bit there. James Arm, what's up, Andy? Killing a few minutes at work here. I'm okay, mate. I hope you are too. Hope you're not working too hard. Vijay says, yeah, congrats on the hobby hero. Thank you very much, mate. And Blizzard says, you're welcome. It's well deserved. Thank you. I appreciate that, mate. Lord Maiden says, I have a team lined up for the 17th, going with a dark green and scarlet red scheme. I'll have to find something to do now. Luke Pryor says, Darth Vader, what you doing to me? I tell you what, mate. If it comes off tomorrow and I post pictures of it, I think you'll wobble over the edge, mate. Lord Maiden says, does that mean we could have blackjack friendly tournaments with a painted bust trophy and an unpainted wooden bust? Yeah, this is the kind of stuff like. Of course, I want to paint these kind of things for myself as like display pieces and stuff. But the idea is I can start to be able to make things as giveaways, things like objective markers, maybe little kind of like little trophy type things, stuff that is just it's easy for me to kind of to do myself, if you like. Where was this one? John says, seeing I'll get back to the Deadpool bus when I feel like it. Reminded me I'm a monogamous painter. Once I've started something, I'll finish before I start something else. The idea with this kind of stuff, mate, was this wasn't content really. Like I was never going to paint this on stream. It was always meant to be a little bit of a personal project thing, just something just to almost switch off from the day job of the hobby and having a separate kind of hobby. But I just loved it so much I wanted to show it off on screen, really. So I just keep kind of tinkering with it. It's almost my palette cleanser. If I've been batch painting something, I got really windy there. I kind of just pick that up in there and just have a bit of a palette cleanser with it, really. Blizzard says, stares intently at only 22 likes. 23 now it is. Oh yeah, 23, Peter says. 48 viewers, 23 likes. You lot, terrible. Marcus says, mainly because I have no idea if they'll end up selling them on as per-made figures on their website. I'm not sure whether some do or some don't. I don't know enough about that kind of stuff yet. Peter says, I got my like in early in case it goes pear-shaped. John Ashley Smith, hello to you, mate. He says, watching as I prepare dinner. Hope the 3D printer is working fine for you. It's going very well at the moment, mate. Thank you very much. I've had a few failed prints and bits and pieces, but that's all part of the learning curve. VG and I were having a brief chat in the Patreon Discord tonight, and he was saying he's not had any failed prints yet, so he's kind of like really happy about that. And actually, I'm quite happy. I've had some failed prints. It's forced me to kind of to learn stuff. It's forced me to learn how to clean up mistakes. And I think because I found that relatively easy to kind of have a clean up if there's been a mistake. It means I'm not worried about trying stuff. I'm not worried about sort of adjusting settings or kind of moving things around to see what they do. Because if all goes wrong, it just gets a failed print and I'll just stop it and I'll clean it kind of thing. Red Rose Wargaming says, we need someone to do a sculpt of Andy so he can print himself and send it as a Patreon reward. You do not want that. I did, however, find today a very nice bust model of a half orc, which I might print out as my D&D character. And Johnson, I guess I'm an unfaithful painter. I have no qualms about starting new stuff. Yeah, I'm the same, to be fair, mate. So, talking of painting, let's crack on and get the brushes out. So, a couple of weeks ago, we were painting this, which was the snake from Mythos. After the stream, I finished it off. There was a couple of bits left to finish, and I noticed there was some kind of. I thought there was like a scar up here and a scar down there, but somebody mentioned on the stream that there's like runes, I should say, down the side. And I noticed when I was kind of doing a bit of dry brushing, I found some more. So I decided to kind of highlight them as if they're sort of glowing through the skin a little bit, as opposed to kind of like slashes and cuts. So yeah, we finished off the little snake eyes there. So that was the first one down done. So I thought tonight, we would go for this beastie. Zoom the camera out a little bit. Now I forget what this is called. Let me get my phone and find the name of it, because it is it does have a name. It is called Cernos the goat. And what you'll see on the model is there's lots of kind of like sort of eyeballs and things kind of bursting sort of through the skin and stuff. In the chest there's a bit of a mouth that's opening up. He's got some kind of bare flesh around his mouth, and that's not his skull, I don't think. I think that's actually, it might be his skull, but like underneath around here, let me just get a brush just to point out the little areas around here and stuff is all kind of like sort of like torn off sort of bare flesh and stuff. So yeah, obviously I thought we'd give that a go. I'll be honest, I've not really given a lot of thought to to how I'm going to paint it, but we'll just crack on. So let me just adjust my camera now because I had it set up for the bust. We'll set that up and we'll get cracking on with the paint. I think I'm going to start just by getting an all over paint. Oh, let me just zoom out a touch, get a bit more on the screen. I think I'm going to go with like a I think we're going to go with like a sort of sandy color. I think we'll go with this Zamizi Desert, because I'm gonna like sort of like layer up from that. I'll probably like wash into the crevices and stuff, and I'll dry brush up and stuff like that. So that's where we're gonna start. So yeah, Zamizi Desert, and I've not opened this one yet. So somebody was asking about alternatives to steel bearings. These are hematite beads. Let me just get these two because I'm going to put them into this pot. I bought these on eBay. I got loads of them. Let me just get these out. So these don't rust. They're just like beads for jewelry making and stuff. But they've got like a nice amount of weight in them. So just give that a little shake up. Put these in. And pop these so you can see. I'll just drop these inside the pot, drop a couple of those in, and that will just help to agitate the paint. There we go. Right. Luke says, I felt the same about the odd blockage early in airbrushing, solved it quickly and got rid of minor worries. It's funny, I referenced airbrushing on Monday's stream when I was saying when people were saying about like 3D printing is a whole new hobby, and I kind of liken it a little bit to 3D printing in respect of, if I can find a brush to get a paint out, in respect of like to airbrushing, in respect of the fact that you can go to like the sort of to full lengths if you like, and really get deep into it and try to understand the intricacies of fine blending and really fine detail and stuff, or you can literally just kind of use it as a fancy spray can. Really, let me just get my thinner there. Yeah, and I kind of feel like 3D printing's a little bit like that. Once you know what you're doing with the supports and stuff, you can get into sculpting and things, but you don't have to. But yeah, and it's another one of those things where you can watch a million videos, you can read sort of tutorials on what you should be doing, how you should mix your paint, how you should clean your brush out, all that kind of stuff. But until you actually get one, and until you actually start doing it yourself, then all of a sudden it's like, all right, so that's what I've got this problem now. I need to find out what to do. So, do you know what I'm going to do? This is just a cheapy brush. I'm just going to use this just to whack some paint on this, to be fair. Let me just make sure, and we'll get cracking on. So yeah, I'm just going to kind of use this one really as a bit of like a heavy overbrush, really, just to get some colour into the fur and stuff. We'll probably wash it down, and then we'll start to pick out bits and pieces. So this is going to look a lot worse before it looks better, but I ain't worried about that. Tony says, evening, apologies for my lateness, a golden eagle swooped in and pinched my slippers. Do you know what it is, mate? That happened to me on Tuesday. Jonathan says, I can't remember where I saw it, but I saw a YouTuber get his likeness done in 28mm to model himself as a space marine. Yeah, I don't think I could don't think I could bring myself to do that. To be fair, I'm not that vain to want to immortalise myself as a model. It's hard enough having to look at myself on camera, never mind having to look at myself on my desk every day. It's no surprise we don't have a lot of photographs around the house. I'm not a huge fan of having my photograph taken, if I'm honest. Peter says I have to search for the paints tomorrow, so tonight I'm going to assemble the Necrons from Pariah Nexus. Oh, very nice, mate. You treated yourself to that, eh? Very nice. Right. Gareth Lewis's duty called night all. Thanks for popping in, Gareth, mate. I hope you're well. VG says not sure I could do it. Oh, VG says not given at least 3 times much thought to how you're going to paint something than the time you'll spend to paint it. Nah, sometimes I just kind of wing it, mate. I get a feel for it, and I'll kind of adjust it as I go. To be honest, I was in 2 minds about which model I was going to paint tonight. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes. Happy accidents, as Bob Ross would say. What I would say is, over the years, I used to sort of be terrible for procrastinating about how should I paint this? What should I do with this? I don't want to start until I've done at least a few test schemes and all that kind of stuff. And I think over time, I've just learned to not really give a toss. Really, at the end of the day, painting's meant to be fun. Like it's meant to just be a bit of a relaxation thing. It's meant to be a hobby. I like this model. Once it's finished painted, once you've all seen it on stream, and I'll probably share a picture of it when it's finished, nobody will ever see it again, really. You might see it in some kind of like battle report or something like that, but you're never going to see it in any major detail. And at the end of the day, even if you do, like I'm painting it for me. It's not like it's not like I'm painting for somebody else and I have to worry about what they think about it. So yeah, I've kind of learned to just chill and go with the flow. Like this looks awful at the minute. I know it does, but that's because it's part of a process. It won't look like this when it's finished. And I used to kind of agonize about that kind of stuff. About like as soon as I put a colour on, think, oh god, no, I've wrecked it. I need to strip the paint off immediately now, kind of thing. I'm just a bit more relaxed about it all now. And sometimes just kind of winging it, just giving it a bit of a go and see what happens. What's the worst that happens? It might look awful and I have to strip it. That's all there is to it, innit? Where are we up to? VJ says, yeah, fancy spray can. That sums up my airbrushing skills. Pretty much mine as well, mate. I went from sort of priming stuff to kind of priming and putting a bit of a base colour on big models or on like sort of Space Marine type army type things, to zenithal priming, to kind of highlighting with paint. But yeah, I don't use it for any fine detail. I have a little bit just to try it out. I did it on some Infinity models. I quite enjoyed it actually. It was quite fun. But yeah, I just use it as a tool. It's not like it's not another hobby kind of thing of trying to watch every sort of YouTube video on airbrushing about how to blend and all that kind of stuff. And that's why I liken 3D printing to kind of airbrushing. Is once you've got the basics down, once you're actually getting out of it what you want to get out of it, then you can learn more, but you don't necessarily have to. Let me just VG says, I've been having a blast reposing STL minis, not printed any of them yet, but it's fun just playing with them. I think at some point in the future, mate, I'll kind of look into bits of like sculpting and things. Like I say, I want to make some sort of Blackjack Legacy sort of objective markers and that type of stuff. So I'll have to learn about how to do basic kind of basic sculpting and things. I'm not sculpting like sort of human forms or anything like that, like anything too sort of biologically accurate, if you like. But yeah, just be able to do like things like movement templates, sort of measurement gauges, things like tokens, little giveaway type stuff. Really, things I want to give away as prizes, things I want to give away as Patreon rewards. Sort of just like little things for different moments, you know. Like if we're doing if we ever get back to being able to have like a Blackjack Legacy weekend type thing, they're the kind of thing that will go in sort of giveaway bags, goodie bag type things, sort of that type of stuff. Really, that's my plan. So whilst it's something for a nice little pastime, like for example, I spent a little bit of time today sort of putting supports and stuff onto this Darth Vader file, resizing it and getting it ready for printing off. But then essentially once I've done that, I stick it in the printer and then I walk away and leave it for 14 hours. It's not a hobby that I have to kind of like obsess about sort of 24 hours a day. You can by choice, but you don't necessarily have to. So maybe as time goes on, I might feel differently about it, but I'm enjoying it as a kind of a new. I like to learn new stuff. Like one thing I don't really get to do these days really is kind of like learn too much new stuff. I try to force myself to learn new things for videos. I try to like force myself to learn about games I don't really know much about. But like new skills and stuff, it's I guess more of what I do is kind of like repeating the same methodology to kind of to improve speed as opposed to improve skill sometimes. Anyway, so yeah, we're just bashing this on. I'm not, as you can see, I'm missing bits. I'm not worried about it. It'll get a wash over the top of it just to darken down some of the fur bits, and then we'll start to kind of like to dry. I mean, this is the kind of model with all of this kind of fur and stuff. It's exactly the kind of model that's screaming out for a bit of dry brushing. So yeah, I'm not stressing about it. So let's just get into here. Where else are we up to? Lord Technopants, hello fella. See, I think some of us mean 3D printing is a whole hobby in terms of cost and consumables, not just how far you get into it. I'm intrigued, but I have enough stuff. I think it depends, mate. Like if you're really obsessed with it and you're getting into it from a consumables point of view and stuff, you're probably gonna like if you're really deep into printing stuff off all the time and new minis and all that kind of stuff, you're probably not spending that money on other stuff, because I think you get to a point where you're potentially kind of printing off your own minis and things for games, and if you're the kind of person that plays a lot of kind of like miniature agnostic stuff, or you're doing a lot of kind of garage hammer type stuff where you like your mates are not complaining that you're playing with third-party minis or anything like that. So I think it's almost part of the hobby that can replace some. So if you're spending a fortune on buying minis all over the place, like just for painting and things, then potentially it might save you a few quid in the long run. But yeah, it's got an upfront cost, but like most hobbies have. Like if you're into sort of playing Xbox or PlayStation and a new PlayStation comes out, it's going to cost you 500 quid for a new one, and then you keep buying games, don't you, the same way you used to. Probably a bad comparison, but you kind of know what I mean. Right. Vijay says one of the mini companies did a mini of Brent from Goober Town. It came out great. I wonder if that's the one that somebody was talking about before then. It's one thing somebody else doing it for you and being immortalised that way, but I certainly wouldn't be asking anybody to do it, that's for sure. That's a little bit vain, I think. Mark says, I don't mind what I look like, but I do hate my voice. You know, I must admit, I don't really care what I look like or how I sound, to be fair. I'm stuck with his face and I'm stuck with his voice, so I don't really particularly mind either way, but if it did bother me, I'm certainly doing the wrong thing for a living, putting myself out here. So I guess a while ago, it used to bother me kind of stuff when I first started doing YouTube things. I was a bit sort of self-conscious about that kind of stuff. But I think over time, I'm kind of a bit long in the tooth now. I'm a bit older. And I'm like, as I've said many times, I'm not in this to try and get like hundreds of thousands of subscribers and stuff. So therefore, people either like me or they don't. Just like they would do in any job. Like in other jobs I've had, I'm sure there was plenty of people who didn't like me because I gave them a hard time, or maybe I pushed them a bit too hard to do things, or maybe I didn't agree with them. I'm sure there was people in my last job didn't like me, so it'd be just the same as in this one. So yeah, I've kind of given up worrying about what people think of me. That doesn't mean it's free rein for people just to kind of like have unfair sort of jabs at me and thing, but yeah, they don't like the way I look or they don't like the way I talk. There's plenty of other channels out there for people to watch. I think that's just something that just comes with being older. It's a bit too late to do anything about it at this age, isn't it? I'm not going to suddenly start sort of changing the way I talk or something like that. Can you imagine when I suddenly started talking with like a proper received pronunciation voice, speaking like the Queen? Thank you all for joining our stream this evening. That would look a bit stupid, wouldn't it? Right. There's just a bit of paint chucked on that one. Let's get a little bit on the inside of the fingers there. Right. So yeah, I've literally just thrown. That looks really. Actually, it is quite yellow. I was going to say it looks really yellow on the camera. So we'll let that dry for a few seconds, and then we'll get a wash over it. Where are we up to here? Christian says that was Artisan Guild, part of their Tavern Heroes pack, which is free in their welcome pack for Patreons. Is it Artisans Guild? What was the other one I saw some minis that I really liked the look of, and I was thinking about picking some of those ones up. I think it's called Circus Grotesque. I don't think it might be Artisan minis, but there was some really kind of like unusual looking minis in that range, kind of like sort of like weird looking clowns and circus performers and stuff. Like it had a real kind of sort of horror feel to it, and I like that kind of stuff. So yeah, who was it? Maybe it was Artisans Guild. I'll have to double check it again. Lord Bain says, I just picked the wrong model up to continue painting. That does it. Paul says, it's too easy to overthink things, but as we see at work, GFDI. Yeah, I used to say that as well. Sometimes you just have to effing do it. Yeah. Tony says, building the Brotherhood of Belial here. Did they arrive then, mate? Nice. Peter says, I managed to resist all the new sets last year, but I knew I'd end up getting the models and terrain. Whoop, I jumped off my screen. On eBay, so I thought the money might as well go to Goblin Gaming and not the scalpers. There is one way to look at it, mate, isn't it? Because that's where it tends to end up. I'll tell you what, we might as well just use that same brush, I think, just to put the wash over it. Let me just make sure it's dry enough. Right. Get a bit of. And then we're literally just going to lather this stuff on. So all I'm trying to do here, is that still a bit wet? Right. It'll blend, won't it? It'll all look part of the process when it's done. All I'm trying to do here really is just darken down that yellow, get into sort of some of the crevices and stuff like that, and then when we dry brush it, we'll get a bit of a different texture to it. So yeah, as you can see, I'm not being that careful. The paint's probably not even dry enough to be washing it yet, but it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Take some risks. Life's too short. Play it safe all the time. I'm in one of those moods today. Peter says, if I used the link correctly, you should get a tiny bit of that too. To be honest, mate, people are using the Goblin Gaming link, so I thank you very much to those folks that do. I ain't getting rich from it by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a nice little top up to my to my income each month. But I don't get to see sort of who's bought anything. I also don't get to see what you've bought. All I get to see is how much somebody's spent, and then what my commission is from that. So yeah, I assume, mate, that I have made some commission from your purchase, but I won't be able to tell for certain. But thank you very much anyway, regardless whether I have or whether I haven't. Thank you very much for clicking through it. Yeah, for those that's kind of that don't know, basically I'm kind of like, I have an affiliate link with Goblin Gaming. You pay the discounted rate that they always advertise. You don't pay any more, but because I've kind of recommended you shop with them, it's kind of almost like a sales commission type thing, and I make a small amount of commission for sending you their way. So it helps you to get a discount because their models tend to have a good discount on them, and their purchases, and it helps me as it's another way to support the channel without physically sort of costing you anything on top of what you've already spent on the models, I mean. So yeah, thank you very much, folks, that use those. I don't know why, but this is making me think of bananas at the minute. It won't be this bad, honestly. We're going to put some more browns and stuff into it as well, so it'll be fine when it all starts to come together. These models have these War Cradle. These are from War Cradle, by the way, for the game Mythos. If anybody's just joining the stream a bit later or whatever, and the War Cradle resin models that they make for this game, for Wild West Exodus as well, for Lost World Exodus, the detail on them is fantastic. They make some absolutely beautiful models. I've still got some Wild West Exodus models actually that I should paint up one week. I started painting up and then kind of got sidetracked with a million other things. So yeah, I should go back and do them one week as well. But yeah, the detail on them is beautiful. I know Tony's a big fan of them. So yeah, just take some risks with your painting. Happy little accidents. Just give it a go, and if it looks awful, just paint over the top. Just tidy up some of these bits. That's just a little bit heavy. Where are we up to? Lobins, I'm doing the same with this team. I'm doing some lines as yellow over green, and the green comes up a bit, but I'm not worried. Yeah, it's fine, mate. Just if you're gonna go over the top or something like that, like you can always tidy things up. Just let it dry and kind of come back to it. So I mean, obviously, I'm gonna let this wash dry because I don't want to start sort of pulling the wash around too much. But all I'm doing here is just taking off the thick of it really now. Sort of smoothing it out a little bit. So you'll see here, if I just dry my brush off on a bit of paper towel, you can see where it's kind of pulled up around the foot there. And then just use that just to wick it away. So any places like round here where it looks quite heavy, just with a dry brush, just pull it away. Same here as well, you don't want it too heavy. And so that's all I'm doing now really. That's why I just kind of like lather it on really and then worry about it afterwards. Because when you do it like this, what you don't want to do really is miss any areas. So just picking up them few bits. It is absolutely lashing it down outside, folks. We I don't know if I mentioned before, we've been doing some kind of work in the garden and stuff. We've been sort of getting the fence put up in bits and pieces, and obviously like with the way the world's been, we didn't go on holiday last year. It's not looking like we're going to get away anywhere fancy this summer either. So we decided just to kind of finish off the garden that we started a couple of years ago really, and we bought some new garden furniture, and it arrived the other day, and I put it all together and put it outside, and just as I opened the door to put it outside, it started to kind of like spit onto rain. And I don't think we've had a nice day since we bought this furniture. So if you live in the northeast of England, anywhere near me, I apologise. It's because we bought some garden furniture. That's why the rain's come. Right, we'll leave that to dry a little bit, and I will go back to the main screen and I'll have a little cheeky beer. and we'll catch up on some of the chat. Where are we up to? Krabby says, if I've made a few bits on Tinkercad now, really easy to use, mate, and totally free online. I'll have to look at that as well. I've been looking at some of the iPad things as well, where you can use like the iPad pencil and stuff like that. I want to have a look and see what there is to do on there as well. John says, I'm lucky that I have a resident sculptor. My daughter's done sculpting for me on models and I didn't feel confident enough to do myself, saving me lots of grief. That's nice, mate. Built-in sculptor. Excuse me. Lord Maiden says, try ZBrush. I did see the person behind Art World use it on one of their live streams and it looked decent. Yeah, is it what's his name again? His name's just escaped me now. I know exactly who you mean. It's on the tip of my tongue. Oh God, what's his name? Anyway, yes, I know exactly who you mean. He's a member in our Facebook group as well. Why has his name just disappeared? Never mind. Yes, I have seen him doing that. He does a good job of replicating how he sculpts sort of manually, like if you like it in real world. He's managed to replicate that style with ZBrush. He's done a really good job. Casper Nielsen, hello mate. He says, oh damn it, now I want to paint too. Get your brushes out, mate. That's the way to get painting. Christian says ZBrush is expensive. Sculptress is the free to use version, but it's full sculpt and suite. 3D Builder already installed on Windows PCs. It's good for simple design and mods. I might need to do a bit of research. I've not done any research at all on sculpt and stuff. I don't know if the kind of things that I'm thinking of is it something more kind of like AutoCAD. I'm not sculpting free flowing designs, if you like. I wonder if it's more like a CAD design thing that I need to do. Lord Min says, I didn't realise that it wasn't free. Yeah, I've not looked into it, like I say, mate. David Hauger says, that's an awesome base colour for that Mini. I love it. Thank you, mate. Yeah. It looks a bit garish at the minute. But the idea is, it's like there's a lot of detail on this that I'll be building up from it. So that's the idea, really. I'm just trying to use that as a base, and then we'll do a lot of kind of dry brushing and stuff, and bring it up from that, make the fur a bit deeper. It's just to kind of give it a nice base colour to get some browns over, really. And then if I miss any bits out, it just looks like different coloured furs. Andy Smith, Hobby Hooligans, how's it going? Hello, Andy Smith, how you doing, mate? John said, I don't need a mini designed to look like me. There's enough orc models already. Evening all, says Steve Evans. Good evening to you, sir. Marcus says, my problem is talking to me in person is fine, but over the phone or any mechanical device, I sound high pitched and like a girl. Don't worry about it, mate. Don't worry about it. If anybody's got a problem, that's their problem. Don't you worry about it. Lord Maiden says, on my side already made models of my likeness without realising, but then the fatties have always looked better. I thought you were going to say the zombies, mate. Christian says, no, that's not Artisan Guild. I know the ones you mean, but I can't remember the design either. Yeah, I can't remember what it is, mate. I've been looking at their stuff online as well. It's on My Mini Factory, because I even looked at their Patreon. But if I joined their Patreon, I don't think you get access to the older stuff. What they call it. It'll come back to me at some point. I'm having a mind blank tonight. Lord Maiden says, yeah, same shit, different day was a huge thing for me before. I think the thing is, when you say same shit, different day, you're almost resigning yourself to like a negative outlook on it. I think that you almost have to flip that around and just see every day as an opportunity, basically. And like, you might feel like it's kind of the same shit, different day, but like it sets as a phrase, like as a thought, if you like, it sets you down that like, oh, nothing ever changes, everything's always the same, there's nothing to look forward to because it's just going to be just as miserable tomorrow, kind of thing. And I think it sets you down a path a bit. So I when I was going through a bit of a tough time, I read loads of kind of like sort of books and listened to kind of audio books and things like that. And some of them obviously are just like kind of claptrap kind of self-help stuff, but some of them really kind of resonated with me, and it helped me get out of a bit of a slump. I'll be completely honest. Ram Design says, I have yet to go to resin and only have FDM for larger prints. What printer are you using? This would be great for smaller parts and the ability to reduce scale. Thank you for the stream. You are very welcome, mate. I'm using the Elegoo Mars 2 Pro. If if you after the stream, if you go back and have a look at my previous video, I did a video yesterday where I kind of showed all of the equipment. It got delivered at the weekend. I've had it like 3 or 4 days or something at the minute. So I've been researching it for about a year. Decided to take the plunge eventually, and I kind of went through all of the kits that I've got, how to use it, just to give a little bit of background really and stuff like that, a little bit of information for anybody who's on the fence or who's thinking about 3D printing with resin. So yeah, it's not a bad video to kind of understand why I bought what I bought as well. Luke says, I bookmarked your Goblin Gaming link. I have made you a penny or two here and there. Thank you very much, mate. I appreciate that. Lord Technopan says, do you know why your failed prints have cocked up? I may not be ready to buy a 3D printer, but I like to learn. Yeah, I think so, mate. I mean, I've literally just messaged Christian tonight as well to ask a question. One of the reasons that the print failed is because there's 3 different types of supports that go onto a miniature when you're putting supports onto it. There are light supports, medium supports, and heavy supports. And the difference between them is the thickness of the support, but also the contact area where the support touches the main structure. So that's what supports the miniature to basically kind of build up the layers. If you don't have the supports there, the layers will fail, if you like. So what I think I've found is where they've failed, and I take it off the build plate and have a look, it looks like it's basically pulled away from the tips of those light supports. So if, for example, let me use this as a miniature, you don't want to put that like flat on the bed, because then you'll be digging at it with the scraper to get it off. So what you do is you do lots of supports underneath it and put what's called a skate onto the print bed, because it's printing upside down, remember. And I think what's been happening generally is that these supports in the middle have been too weak, so that when it starts to print that big area and it pulls off the plate, it's actually pulling it away from the supports. So I've tried kind of upping the diameter of those supports and stuff. They're absolutely fantastic for breaking away and really nice and clean. But when you're trying to support the model, so what I've done with the Darth Vader one at the minute, I've basically kind of almost sort of went overboard and put lots of heavy supports underneath the plate of it. And I checked it before we came on stream, and it's kind of built it up and it's supported. The problem is as it gets bigger, it gets heavier, so they need to support it. And I was also printing off some of these tiny little ships. So Dead Earth Games sent me some files today to have a look at, because he said, I saw you got a 3D printer. Do you want to have a look at these? So these are for his is it the Drowned and the Damned, I think it is. He's got a fantasy sort of game. And these have come off super clean as well, but some of these were breaking away, and these came pre-supported. And what I thought happened was basically that when I load it into the software, the supports would be the size that I'd set. And this is what I was talking to Christian about tonight, and he said no, the support sizes will be whatever the person who built the supports has been. So I think what's happened is the supports are a bit small on these pre-supported ones. So tomorrow I'll go back and I'll redo the supports on these kind of stuff. Thank you, Kevin Massey, for subscribing. If you're in the chat, is it going to do one of those where it kind of it bulk loads all of the subscribers? And I gotta maybe just 2 people subscribe at the same time. Sometimes it just kind of rolls through them all. So I think that's what's happening. Is essentially it's breaking away from the point at which the support touches the model, because the suction on this is getting technical now, but you've got the FEP, which is the plastic film at the bottom. The UV light shines through it and it cures that bottom layer. And if that turns into quite a big layer, there's quite a pull suction wise as it's trying to pull it off that plastic film. And if those supports are not strong enough, it'll snap those supports. That's what's happened a couple of times to me so far, and that's just me sort of mixing sort of working with new settings, not realizing that the settings didn't change if I used a pre-supported one and stuff like that. Tony saying, yeah, I love them, the great minis from War Cradle. Krabby says, I want to make a small Chaos Demon force using stuff like this as proxy. The sculpts are way cooler. There's a company's just reached out to me, said, I saw you got a 3D printer, and would you be interested in kind of looking at some of our files and a lot of their stuff, it's kind of like fantastical and stuff, but they do a lot of stuff that would be counts as kind of chaos demons and stuff and things like that, chaos. So I'll have a look at those, mate, and let you know if there's anything comes through from those. Bengtson says, can you do that with contrast paint? Yeah, you certainly could do that with contrast paint. What I was doing here. The reason I didn't was because if I do contrast paint, I'd have to wait for the contrast paint to dry, and then I'd have to kind of like sort of like wash and recess and stuff. What I wouldn't get with contrast paint is I wouldn't get those really dark recesses. I'd get like a dark yellow recess, if you like. That's the reason I didn't use contrast paint on here, but I like contrast paints. I use them multiple times. That's still a little bit wet, so we'll keep chatting. Henrik, good evening, mate. How are you doing? He said he's painting a new Dreadball team. Brilliant, mate. Nice one. Paul says it's not just the northeast, it's the northwest as well. To quote Lord of the Rings, the Dark Lord's hand has grown long if he can hurl rain at us all the way from the Newcastle. I tell you what, mate. It's bloody awful, it really is. Tasty Brain Drain says, if you don't mind me asking, what beer are you drinking? This beer, mate, is the cheapest of the cheap. Last summer when we had like sort of some nice weather and some barbecues, I saw this in Aldi, right? And I think it's about sort of £3.50 or something for like 10 bottles. And I thought, God, I used to remember sort of like just sitting out in the sun and having a couple of like little bottles of French beer. I'm going to buy some to try it. And I bought it. And actually, it's really, really nice. I love the taste of it. So we went shopping at the weekend, and I saw them again, and I thought, we're getting the garden done. I'm going to just bring some. I'm going to buy some for like if we have a barbecue or something like that, because they're nice and small, so they don't they don't warm up when you're out in the sun. We just haven't had any sun, so yeah, I'm drinking them now. So I'll show you. This is not advertising. I'm not sponsored by Aldi beers. It is proper little cheap French imported premium lager, mate. I think it works out like 35 pence a bottle or something like that. But yeah, super tasty, mate. Super tasty. Max Ernst, hello there, mate. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the chat. Vijay says there's a version of ZBrush called ZBrush Core Mini that's free. I wonder if that's what people are using. Max says, greets from Germany. One question, are you based in Northern England or from Scotland? I'm from Northern England, mate, but where I am in Northeast England is not that far away from the Scottish border. So a lot of people that are not kind of sort of native British people, if you like, they quite often sort of mistake the accent for Scottish. It's quite sort of it's quite close, I think, to folks who maybe hear it for the first time. So yeah, you're not a million miles out on both of those. Yes, Northeast England, in a place called Newcastle. You might have heard of Newcastle United. It's probably the more famous thing, or Newcastle Brown Ale beer. That's the place. VG says, I've been using Blender to repose, so we'll probably learn to sculpt in that, as it's such a Swiss Army knife. Yeah, I need to look at all that kind of stuff, mate. Peter says, I agree, being positive does have results. I think it does, mate. I honestly think it's... Like, I'm not one of these kind of happy clapper people who thinks that, like, you know, if you just wish good things happen kind of stuff. But I certainly think if you have a positive mindset, you tend to approach problems in a different way. Lord Maiden says, I agree too. I changed my thinking when I saw that I had a way out of that awful place. God, yeah. I mean, when I kind of saw a way out of my old job, it was like a cloud lifted from my head, honestly. Tiny War Games donated through the super chat. Thank you very much, mate. Nice to see you again. For those folks who don't know Tiny War Games, please go and check out Tiny War Games. They make some fantastic gaming mats. So follow them on Twitter. Go and check out their website as well. I don't know if we can link their the website, but Christian, if you can, mate. Archvillain Games, that's them. Christian, if you can you link to Tiny Games website for me, please, mate? Tiny War Games. Thank you, mate. Let's have a look. Where were we up to there? Lord Technopants says, thanks, that was really informative. Glad I asked, mate. I'm pretty ignorant. Like I say, mate, I've spent ages. I know the technical aspect of how things work, but until you actually start printing things and you come across problems, that all that kind of research, it'll give you a rough idea, but you need to start troubleshooting and stuff. But actually, I'm finding that quite interesting. Like I said before, so basically what happens is, so when you get a failed print, you essentially get the pattern that you were printing out stuck. to the bottom of the what's called the FEP, the plastic bit on the bottom of the tray. So what I've just got into a routine basically of just sort of taking the build plate out, scraping the build plate off, putting them into a kind of into the IPA, sorry, just to kind of wash them off, wash off the loose resin. And then take the bath if you like, if the resin tray, pour it through a filter back into the bottle. So I take all the resin out, and then I use one of these, a microfiber cloth underneath, and I basically just push up slightly on the plastic film, and basically what that does is it just peels the edges of the kind of the failed prints that are stuck to the bottom. It just eases them up, kind of. You're breaking them away a little bit. You're not trying to like poke through. You're just stretching it very slightly, and then it breaks them away at the edges, and you can get the little plastic kind of scraper and just literally run it along the bed and just pull them off. And that's basically what I'm finding is it's not scratching the plastic. It's giving me a bit of confidence, so it means I'm not worried about things going wrong. Where I think if I hadn't had failed prints and I'd got myself a bit of self-confidence that everything goes right every time, I think I'd be worrying about kind of sort of getting in and messing about with stuff really. Christian says, yeah, you want heavy supports to anchor the model to the build plate for the first few layers, and then medium and light supports for the rest of it. Yeah, I think some of the files I've had made have basically just used light supports everywhere. So this one, for example, when I did it, I had light supports basically coming up the side and coming across to kind of like support under the chin and things like that. But on, oops, not the camera out there, but on the bottom of here, I basically I ballsed up the bottom of that, but that stuck to the bottom of the plate. And all I had to do this morning was I had to use a file and just clean up some of the edges around the bottom, but it's not noticeable basically. John Ashley Smith says, how hard is the resin you're using when it's cured? When my brother-in-law cast parts in dental resin, it was really difficult to cut away the poor stubs. Diamond hard. To be honest, mate, what I've been doing is, like with this one, is I take it off the build plate, I put it into the IPA and wash it and clean off all the excess resin, and then I pull the supports off while it's still quite supple and quite sort of soft, and then I cure it afterwards. You can cure it first, which makes it quite brittle as well, but if your supports are really, if the support points are small, they should just break away. Or you can use, I think Tiny War Games is just saying as well, you can just use a pair of clippers, like, I mean, just like, these are my hobby ones, but essentially just kind of like get in as close as you can and snip them off. You get a pair of clippers with the printer actually, so that they're in the room over there. So that door you can see behind me there, that's where my printer stuff is. Luke says, I love a little stubby, refreshing when proper cold. Yeah, this is freezing, mate. I quite, there's just something, it reminds me of kind of like sort of just barbecues in summer and going on beer runs to France when that used to be a bit of a thing years ago. Busey said, cheaper than water. It bloody is, mate, honestly. Chris says, best extra cold to hide the harsh flavour. I quite like the flavour, mate. I've been drinking, I was going to say a lot of whiskey. I've been drinking more whiskey than beer lately, so maybe that's why I kind of like the harsher tasting. Tasty Brain Drinks, I've never seen that beer before. Of course, I'm not a beer expert. I don't think it's available this side of the pond. It's literally just in Aldi, mate. It's probably like their own make stuff. It's brewed in France, so it's obviously some French brewery obviously does it for them. Marcus is saying Newcastle better than White Castle. I've never been to White Castle before. Yes, Archvillain Games. That was the one, mate. I remember seeing the sculpts online a long time ago, and I really like that circus grotesque stuff. So I'll have to try and dig some of that out and see if I can get my hands on that file. I think it's on my mini factory to purchase. Krabby says happy clappers. That's just kind of what I just that's what I kind of like. That's what I think. Like some people are really kind of like, when I say happy clappers, it's almost like they're trying to like sort of push sort of positivity down your neck kind of thing. It's almost like just being positive does not solve the world's problems, but being more positive than negative certainly stops some of the problems from coming on, that's for sure. Christian sharing the link there for Tiny War Games. Thank you very much, mate, and thank you for the donation, mate. I really appreciate that one. Christian sharing the link to the Patreon there as well. Thank you so much. Tiny War Games says some great tips here for 3D prints. I'm literally learning all the time myself, mate. I mean, this is not going to turn into a 3D printing channel, but whilst it's new to me and while I'm learning and people are kind of still sort of maybe asking questions and stuff, ask away. If I don't know the answer, I'll tell you I don't know the answer. I've researched a lot and I think I know the theory behind things, but I don't profess to be an expert. Martin said, I had a White Castle once. Their burgers were a little gross. I think I've heard somebody say that about White Castle burgers. Peter said, I just ordered 100 Peri Zulus and 40 British 12 nail in a box of battle systems. Wow, €350 well spent. Tiny War Games said, how long did Judge Dredd take to print? It took about 14 hours, mate. But I literally set it away after dinner last night. And then obviously went to bed last night. When I got up this morning, it was done. So like, it's not like I've kind of been sitting there, so sitting on the toilet, sitting watching it or anything like that. Paul says has played the Wild Rover for many a year, but lately been buying more whiskey than beer. I tell you what, mate, I have been buying more whiskey. I've got a real taste for it at the minute. And my wife's kind of like sort of, if she's been like out shopping or anything like she's kind of like, oh, I saw that you didn't have much of that whiskey left, so I bought another bottle for you. So it's not even like I'm going and buying it as well. So like she bought me another bottle of Woodford Reserve the other day, and what else? I bought myself a bottle of Wild Turkey, not Wild Turkey, sorry, Buffalo Trace, which I'm quite enjoying as well. So I'm trying a bit of bourbons at the minute. Lord means I'm more of a stoic person. I want to get through things, but because it's better on the other side of them. But I must look like a bulldog with bees. I'm quite a fan of that kind of like that of stoicism and stuff. For those that haven't read it, Derren Brown has a book called it's called Happy. I think it's called Happy, and the subtitle is Why Mostly Everything Is Fine, and it's a really, really good book for that kind of stuff. He talks a lot about stoicism. No nay never, no nay never, no more. Blizzard says White Castle makes McDonald's look like gourmet. And Vijay says I make the mistake of eating White Castle on my first night in NYC. Yeah, I've never had White Castle. Tasty Brains here says if it's an Aldi exclusive, then that could also explain why I'm not familiar with it, seeing how we don't have Aldi here. Yes, mate, that's probably why. It is just like, I think it's like their own brand stuff. But like I say, I bought it like in last summer, because I like these little stubby bottles basically, because just they're a nice size basically. If you just fancy I think it's like a one unit. It's 4%. It's not like kind of like too weak, but yeah, it's just 1 unit of beer basically. Lord Bins, I have to keep my emotions in check. I want to throw an axe at someone this morning. I've had those moments as well, mate, don't worry. Paul says Tesco is ace for getting whiskey. They usually have a good stock, but they regularly have bottles at discount prices and you'll top brands between £10 and £15 off. I don't think we have a Tesco that close, mate. I don't think. We're kind of halfway between Morrison's and Aldi, Sainsbury's. I'm not sure where the nearest Tesco is to us, mate, so I tend not to shop in Tesco. Tiny War Games says last time I drank whiskey I woke up in a field with a horse licking my face. I can sympathise with that. Right, let's see how this is drying out now. It's still a little bit damp in areas. Let's tell you what we'll do. We'll get in and we'll try and dry them out a little bit. It's because I really did give this a bath. I would normally use a hairdryer, folks, but the last thing that you need on a live stream is me blasting a hairdryer into the miniature. So I think we'll dry the worst of those bits out, and then we'll look at how we're gonna get in there with some browns and things. Right, I think we better start with a darker brown. And I think we'll go with Rhinox Hide. I like Rhinox Hide. Busey says, how many units is in the recommended daily allowance? Is it 6? I think it's something like, is it 2.3? It's not a lot, to be fair. Not that anybody pays any attention to it, but yeah, it's not a lot, mate. I wonder if it tells you on the bottle. Drink responsibly. Apparently I'm not allowed to drink it while I'm pregnant either, but I can't see that happening, so it's fine. No, it doesn't actually tell you, mate. Yeah. Peter says the question is, what did you do to the horse for making him like you that much? He shared the whiskey with him. That's what he did. David Milano says, I appreciate your positivity and enthusiasm about your projects. Thank you very much, mate. I just kind of figure like it's my job now because I chose for it to be my job, but it is my hobby. It's what I love doing. Like the fact that I wanted it to be my job is because I love doing it so much. And for me, a lot about sort of learning to be positive was about putting myself in the right headspace to make this kind of thing happen. Like I took a massive drop in wages, basically from what I used to do for a day job to kind of what I make now doing this. And if I told you what I earned and what I earn now, you would say I'm mad, and you probably wouldn't believe me. But yes, I significantly less money, but I've never been happier, I'll be honest. Even though we've been through like 12 months of a pandemic, and I've had bad days as well and bad weeks, just like everybody else has. When you're sick of this, you're sick of being stuck in the house, and you think things are never going to get any better and all that kind of stuff. Like I just have to keep reminding myself like where I was prior to lockdown and stuff when I was doing my old job, and I absolutely hated getting up out of bed in the morning and going to work. It just drained the life out of me. So kind of having a positive outlook and I'm a firm believer in making things happen for yourself as well. You can't just kind of sit back and expect things to kind of happen. You have to go and make it happen for yourself. But that's true of most things in life, really. You can complain about things, but if you're not doing anything to change the situation, you kind of got yourself to blame in that respect. So yeah. Things don't just get better on their own, even though people might wish that they did. So all I'm doing, folks, is I am just being really heavy-handed. I'm using an old GW dry brush here. That's kind of proper raggy. I'm just dry brushing, just getting. I'm basically just trying to blend some colours into it. Really, I'm not worried about it looking perfect. It's not the kind of mini that looks like it should be kind of perfect. So we're just going to keep going at it until it looks right. We'll just put lots of different browns into it. We'll maybe put a little bit of orange into it as well, just to break it up a bit. But yeah, we'll just keep going and see where we end up. Because what I will do is I'll go in and I'll pick out some bits of flesh afterwards. I'll pick out all these eyeballs, any bits of bones that's sticking out. We'll come back and do them. So they always look a bit weird when it's like basically one big block of colour. But it's when you start to pick out the details at the end, that's when you'll really start to kind of see the effects. Paul says, I read an article the other day about the nasty health risks of drinking whiskey and how it can shorten your life drastically. It was enough to make me give up reading. Do you know what it is, mate? I've actually read. So I've mentioned before as well. I like a cigar and stuff. Like I like to have a cigar and a glass of whiskey and stuff, especially when the summer comes and it can sit outside in the sunshine. And for all smoking is not healthy. And I am not advocating smoking at all. This is not an advert for smoking. There is a train of thought actually that it actually is better for you than the actual health risks. And the reason that it is actually better for you, like the pros outweigh the cons kind of thing, is because people who tend to sit and smoke a cigar will tend to basically actually relax. They'll switch off. They have less stress in their life because they actually make time. It's not something you do while you're kind of like sitting working or while you're kind of like busy doing something. You basically kind of like sit down. You might have a cup of coffee. You might have a glass of whiskey. You actually like switch off and mentally relax. And actually for stress, it can actually prolong your lifespan. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword, I think. But yeah. I don't have many vices in life, but yeah, those are two of them. John said, I'm going to have to cook dinner earlier to watch like a senior citizen. Yes, make sure you do, mate. Blizzard says, Is Newcastle anywhere near Jesmond Dean? It is very near, mate. Jesmond Dean is in Newcastle. I got married at Jesmond Dean, actually. So, yes, it is very near, mate. And Jesmond is a lovely place. When the sun's out, bank holiday Mondays, and the sun's blazing, cracking the pavements, Jesmond is a lovely place to go for a few beers. Tiny Williams, I was attending a wedding and had a lager and a half a bottle of whiskey. I walked home across a field as a shortcut and fell asleep. What happened to me was the horse is private. What happens in a farmer's field stays in a farmer's field, eh? You sure it was a horse, mate? Because you know you can't milk bulls, don't you? If that's where you were getting confused. Did the horse phone you back? 2 stubbies a day keeps the doctors at bay. Well, that's the plan, mate. One here and a second one for afterwards, because they're only small ones. Marcus says, that's what I tell one of my friends all the time. All he does is bitch about his situation, but does nothing to change it. Yeah, and I'm speaking from experience, mate. I've been in that same situation myself as well, where you think the world's against you kind of thing, but actually, like, when you actually sit down and say to yourself, so what you doing about it then? That looks awful on screen. It looks nothing like that in the flesh. Maybe it does look awful in the flesh as well. We need to get more of the brown in there. I think there's still too much yellow in it. Or ochre, whatever it's called. We just need to get more of the brown into this. The stallion. Blizzard says, cool. I was watching a video about it the other day. It's a really nice place, mate. So Jesmond is a bit of a sort of, I wouldn't say it was posh, but it's kind of like it's a bit of a wealthier area in Newcastle. There's some kind of really big old Victorian houses there and stuff, so they're quite expensive. It tends to be a combination of like sort of wealthy people, like doctors and kind of like sort of people who own their own businesses and all that kind of stuff, and students, where people have bought those houses and then those big kind of those big Victorian houses and then converted them into like 6 flats or something for students. So you tend to find the posh students from Northumbria Uni live in Jesmond as well. But yeah, from a nightlife perspective, like it's a nice place to live. It's really nice. It's a lovely area. I kind of live the other side of Newcastle, nearer the coast. So Whitley Bay is not too far away from me, and I live in like an old village, which basically it's like it looks like the houses that we live in used to be kind of like farmland basically, and they've done like kind of, they're not barn conversions if you like, but it looks like there's been kind of barns and stuff there. So yeah, so out the back behind me where that window is basically all farmland, and there's kind of horses in the field and stuff like that. But we're sort of, we're not like out in the middle of nowhere, but it kind of feels like it. Christian sharing the link there for Goblin Gaming as well. Thank you, Christian. Thank you very much, my friend. Paul said, I wouldn't say Jesmond Dean is posh, but even the chavs are called Tarquin and Tabitha. Yes, that is that's exactly the kind of names. It's a place that has like sort of wine bars and nice restaurants and sort of designer clothes shops and stuff. It's that kind of a place. I don't think you get an Aldi with cheap beer there. That's for sure. But yeah, it's lovely. There's a really nice hotel there, like kind of sort of like an old sort of, I don't even know what you'd call it, basically called Jesmond Dean House. Basically it's like an old, I don't know, I guess like an old sort of, what would you call it, like a stately home type thing, and that's where me and my wife got married. And we've actually got somebody bought us a voucher to go and have a night away there as well to celebrate our anniversary last year. Unfortunately, it's been in the pandemic, so it's been closed. So when it reopens again, if we can get a babysitter, we've got a free night there with a nice meal and stuff. So I look forward to that at some point. It's our wedding anniversary at the end of this month. So yeah, the lockdowns came just as we were celebrating our wedding anniversary. Right, it's starting to darken down a little bit now. Now we just need to start to get some extra different colours into it and stuff. Peter Cooman says, horses you say. Yes, mate. There's a so our house is kind of in the corner of like a little courtyard type thing, and there's 3 houses, and ours is the one in the corner. So the garden is like an L shape. On one side of the garden there was like kind of like a farm and like the stables and stuff, and then on the other side it's sort of like a big field where they bring the horses around to graze during the day. So if you're sitting in the garden, you kind of see the horses looking over the fence and stuff like that. It's quite nice, mate. But yeah, so it feels like you're kind of in the middle of nowhere, but then you go out the front door and kind of turn around and you're right back into kind of into the middle of city life again. So yeah, it's a nice mix. But as I've mentioned before, house prices in the northeast are very, very, very different to what house prices are like anywhere else in the country. That's for sure. Maybe you can share a drink with a cigar with those horses, see what it's like, and a whiskey as well, mate. Tony Boo Leiden, hello, mate. He said, I stayed in Jesmond while I was working at the Playhouse in Newcastle. Got in trouble trying to flag down a police car for a lift home. What a little worse for wear. Yes, mate. Policemen are funny about not being taxis. Right, so we've kind of mixed in a bit of brown there. We're starting to darken it down. I think what we'll do now is we'll then come in and we'll blend in a little bit more of a different shade of brown. We'll do something like a bit of Morn Fang, I think. So we'll use this, and we're just gonna keep like heavy dry brushing, just mixing them in. Excuse me. Yeah. Blizzard says, yeah, that estate was the focus of the video. Yes, that's what it'll have been, mate. But yeah, it is a really nice area. I've had many a bank holiday drinking session along there, that's for sure. Although not for a while, unsurprisingly. Krabby says, I was working with Martin Scott's house today, mate. He took great pride in showing me his winning goal against Newcastle. Lovely fella. Yes, mate. To be honest, there's been quite a few Sunderland players who've had winning goals against Newcastle. Just not for some time, that's all. That's why they all kind of like live on the old days. Casper says he fought cancer 5 years ago and came out the other side a fair bit wiser. Congratulations, mate, and well done for battling that. Enjoy life some more while you can. Have a drink and don't work your ass off to earn your boss a new Porsche. 100%, mate. Like you will never get rich. Put it this way: it doesn't matter how hard you work, you're never going to get rich working for somebody else. So you kind of have to. You've got to. I'm a firm believer, and I've kind of changed my opinion in this over the years, but I'm a firm believer now of kind of like sort of assessing what really makes you happy. Like does money really make you happy? Because it doesn't really matter how much you earn, you'll always want a bit more, kind of thing. One of that book I was talking about before, the Derren Brown book, there's a chapter in it essentially which is like, it says that like sort of I'm making some broad sort of strokes here. Like I'm assuming we're all kind of I'm assuming there's no multi-billionaires kind of thing in this chat tonight. Put it that way. So people like us, your average kind of like sort of working people, or even people with a few quid and stuff, quite wealthy people, are not really like jealous of people like Bill Gates. They're not jealous of people like what's he called, the Tesla guy and stuff. Like the amount of wealth that they've got, it's so far away from anything that we could ever sort of attain to, that we're not jealous of that wealth. However, if the guy who lives over the road from you suddenly gets a new car, like there's a trigger that goes off that goes, oh well, we all live in a similar kind of a house. I assume we all kind of earn a similar amount of money. How come he's got a new car? So then that's what happens, is it sets those kind of like those jealousy triggers off. So then all of a sudden you think, well, I think I deserve a new car as well. I'll work hard. I deserve a new car as well. And it's about understanding, are you buying that car because you really want that car, or are you buying that car because you want everybody else to know that you're doing really well and you work really hard? And when I kind of like, when I read that or listened to that, because I listened to the audiobook first, there were so many kind of like pennies dropped, and it was one of the big drivers in making me want to take a sort of a huge step back financially from what I was doing in my day job to pursue something that I love doing, which financially will not kind of like sort of pay me anywhere near like that. However, I also don't need that much either, because all I was doing was buying newer versions of stuff I already had. A new iPhone, buying a new iPad, buying a new computer, buying new clothes, buying all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it was kind of eye-opening. Sometimes it takes a big thing in your life, sometimes the change has to happen to you for you to kind of appreciate that kind of thing. Elon Musk, that's the fella. Thank you. What are we up to here? Let me scroll back a bit. A Neil Pilot says that's a nice looking Wendigo. Yeah, I don't think they call it a Wendigo, but I assume that's kind of what it is. Right, so we've toned that brown down there, but what we have got is we're starting to get some nice kind of different kind of blends and shades of colours in it, really, which is what I was trying to get to. So I think what we'll do is we'll come in with a slightly lighter one and do it on the light side, and then I think after that we'll come in with something like a Zandri dust, I think, very lightly, just to kind of pick up on the high spots, and then we'll come in and start picking out some of the details. So I'm not even cleaning the brush out here. I'm just, oops. Let me just pick that up again, because mix a bit of that into what's already in the brush, and then we're just gonna just really lightly just dust over it, just pick out some of the high spots, and then we'll come in and start picking out some of those details and really start to kind of make it pop out a little bit. I think this might even need a little bit of a bit lighter as well, to be fair, but I think we'll leave it at that. Right. Mark says, I live in Texas, so I'm used to seeing horses even in the middle of the day. Yeah, it's not something you see very often around, like sort of most of Newcastle. Not unless the travellers have kind of taken up on the town moor, but yeah, it's quite nice to actually, especially in the summer when you're just sitting outside, just to hear the kind of the neighing of the horses. It's quite nice. I've got another booze here. Yoakum says, too much talking about beer and whiskey here. I thought I would save mine till tomorrow's D&D session, but it's getting hard to resist the cold one now. Yeah, come and join the club, mate. Paul says the police don't like being taxis, but if you get hammered enough, they'll sometimes give you a bed for the night. They certainly will, that mate. Right, what I'm going to do is we're going to go with Avalon Sunset, and we're going to pick out all of those kind of eyeballs that are dotted around all over the model, and and start to pick out some detail on this. I think I'm just going to move that drink before I knock it over. Jez Hunt says, Jesmond's not as posh as Wallsend. That's the classy bit of the tune. Yes, Wallsend is its... certainly classy Wallsend, mate. It's not quite the Meadowell estate, but yes. Right, so we'll start to pick some of these things out now. And what I tend to do, what I'm intending to do, sorry, is I'll probably come in with like a red contrast or a red glaze just around the edges of it, and then like sort of put the black pupil in, very similar to the snake's eyes. But we'll start off by just popping these in, because as soon as we can start to get some detail in, it might actually start to sort of pull it together a little bit. I'll tell you what, that tip I could do with a sharper tip, I think, on that. It's not coming together at quite the point. Maybe the paint needs to be a little thinner. Luke says, I love living out in the countryside, but it can be a pain on occasions. Yeah, I think we've got the best of both worlds. I mean, it feels like the countryside, but it's not. Like we are like definitely sort of on the edge of the city type thing in suburbia. But we're just fortunate. It feels quite rural where we are. Oops. Just run that in the corner there a little bit. Peter says, I can actually relate. Front of the house is road and apartments. Behind the house is cornfields and trees. And they're like, my daughter loves hopping the fence and going for a walk. Yeah, we've like out the back of ours, obviously there's this farmland and stuff, and then there's kind of like the old wagon ways. So we've got a gate in the back of our fence in the garden, so we can go out the back way, walk along the side of the farm, and kind of head out along the wagon ways. And it's nice to kind of take the mountain bike out and go for a ride through the forest and stuff. It's nice. What I do miss though is where we used to live before was a lot more kind of sort of town living, and I miss being able to kind of walk along to like a couple of pubs or something like that, or a coffee shop, or I miss that kind of stuff. Where we are, we tend to have to drive to those kind of places. But yeah, it's everything's a trade-off. Let's scroll down a bit. Marcus is saying, now that I think about, I wonder why my city doesn't have a horse-mounted police unit. Crabby said he's big into his whiskey and wine, mate. Really interesting. He's got a bike, so we're going to head out for a ride soon. I told him I would if he didn't mention the Derby games. Nice one. Nice one. Yeah, he always came across as a decent lad. I've never kind of met him and stuff, but I've seen him at, like, you know, when they used to do like sort of meet the old players and stuff at the stadium, or if you were doing like a corporate day or something like that, and some of the old players were there. He always seemed to come across like a nice guy. Start to pick some of these out. John says, I had to give up drinking at 29 or I wasn't going to see 30. 25 bloody years, one day at a time. I obviously, when I was younger and stuff, I certainly had the same kind of binge drinking that most kind of young people do, but I would never say it was kind of excessive or anything like that. These days, I mean, lockdown's been a bit different, but generally I never really used to drink at home very much, because for me it's always been a social thing of like going out and enjoying a drink with with friends. But yeah, lockdown's changed my opinion on having a whiskey at home. I would have a beer and stuff like that, but I would never really drink kind of spirits at home. But then I kind of realised not going out anywhere, I was missing out on the things I enjoyed. So, right, have I missed any? Oh, there's one in the back of his hand. I think we've captured them all there. Is that one on his back? No. So, yeah, I think that's all of them. Right. I think what we'll do now is then we'll pick out some of the bone areas. Lord Technopan says, happiness is spending time with the people you want to and doing the things you enjoy. I tell you what, mate, that's one thing that lockdown is deprived us all of. Spending time with the people we want to. Well, some of them anyway. Obviously, I've enjoyed spending time with my wife and my children, but yeah, you don't realise how much you miss sort of social aspects of things. Right, bones. What colour am I going to do those kind of bone things? I think we'll start with like a Carrick stone just to give a... Where's that? Just to give it a bit of a base colour and then build up from that. Jez says, Marcus, the Newcastle police horses have learned to dodge punches. I think they've learned to punch back these days, mate. Where are we up to here? Where was this one? Jez Hunt says, sod keeping up with the Joneses. Be stranger and more interesting than the Joneses. Exactly, mate. Keep them guessing. Yeah, those days are. I think it's almost ingrained in you. Like I think there's just this acceptance that everybody grows up, gets a 9 to 5 job, and just basically kind of just goes through the motions of working to have 2.4 children and a nice little house and a dog and go on holiday every year and have a nice car, and it's almost like that's expectations on people these days. Like I love the fact that I do this for a living now, and like if people ask me, so what do you do? Like obviously people know I was made redundant from my last job and stuff, and they go, so what you doing now? And I tell them, and they kind of, I can see them go, huh? Like, but you're an old man. Like that's not, that's what 16-year-old kids do YouTube. Like it's weird that there's that connotation that actually, well, you know, how on earth can you do that? Like, because everybody just expects that you've got to get a 9 to 5 job. I like being unconventional. Right, we're just kind of picking out some of these kind of spiky bits as if I haven't decided whether they're kind of thorns or whether they're bones yet, kind of breaking through, but we're just picking them out in a different colour so we can kind of decide what they are. Starting to pick up. It's giving us some kind of some variance. Where are we up to? Peter says, replace car with minis and stories, bang on. do your neighbours buy loads of miniatures as well, mate? To be honest, do you know what it is, mate? There's a lot of that as well. Like people buying the latest GW stuff. Like kind of always got to keep up with the Joneses kind of thing. Like always, but like I know I'm not going to paint it, or I know I'm not going to play it, but I've got to have it because everybody else is getting it, kind of thing. There's certainly a lot of that. Like I've said this loads of times before, but I almost kind of like weaned myself off that FOMO thing, purely by knowing that at some point I wasn't going to be able to afford to do that anymore, because I'm trying to kind of like to change what I do for a living and take a pay cut and do this for a job instead. So I kind of weaned myself off that by enforcing and saying, well, you won't be able to afford it soon, so you got to make sure that you can do it before you decide to kind of quit your job. So yeah, I managed to kind of to break that FOMO side of things, and honestly, I mean, I appreciate I get sent stuff by companies and stuff, which is obviously sort of some of it, but some of the stuff I get sent, it's nice to have it, but I certainly wouldn't be buying everything I get sent. Some of it I certainly would. Like this stuff, I actually sort of asked Warcradle about the Mythos stuff to see if they'd be interested in sending me some stuff, because they got in touch with me about the Dystopian Wars game, and I said, look, if you're happy with the coverage that I do for Dystopian Wars, would you be interested in kind of doing something together on Mythos? So I appreciate I do get some stuff sent to me, but I certainly I don't feel the need to kind of buy the latest stuff all the time. Certainly basically kind of kick the habit on things like Kickstarters and stuff like that. And I think sometimes I think it was like you were saying there, is sometimes you back things because you want something to talk about. Like you want to be with the cool kids kind of thing, for want of a better phrase. Right. Jess says, oh yes, Busey says they got a new car, but maybe they're actually more in debt with all that HP. But you know what it is? That's exactly what happens. Is because then sort of, and they're doing it because they're trying to kind of like sort of keep up with somebody at work who does the same job as them and has just bought a new car, and they're saying, well, you know, I want a new car because they've got a new car. That's exactly what happens. That's how people get, like, people have really good jobs and still have like thousands and thousands of pounds of debt, because everybody just adjusts. They just adjust basically. Like it's almost that kind of like it's never enough kind of thing. It doesn't matter how much you've got; it's never enough. If you're trying to kind of do that, sort of always having the latest stuff or keeping up with people or whatever. Let's paint these hooves as well, and we'll just get those base colours in. Anyway, that all went very philosophical, didn't it? Radek says there was a saying that you make a living working for someone else, but you make a fortune working for yourself. I'm sure I butchered it. No, I know exactly what you mean, mate. Tim Kelly sent something through in the Patreon a while ago. He was sharing a TED Talk video, and it was basically a guy who'd basically almost essentially dropped out of society, as people would say, and he basically lived on a boat and kind of travelled around and worked. Kind of, I think he just like worked for himself as a consultant or something like that. But worked semi-regularly, so he might work maybe 4 or 5 days a month or something like that. Do 4 or 5 days a month work, and kind of travel around the rest of the time. And he was saying, people always like ask me like, so how, like, did you win the lottery or something? How did you do it? And he had this whole presentation, and it was about how much money you spend, like, just going to work. How much money do you spend, like, how much money do you spend each month on that car, which in its primary purpose is just to get you to work and back most of the time. Like, I looked into this, like, obviously when I used to have a company car with my last job, and obviously I had to hand it back when I left and I stopped working there, and like part of me was thinking, well, I'll need to get a car and stuff to get about, and I kind of sort of sat back and I worked it out, and I thought, you know what it is, if I got a taxi everywhere I wanted to go, it would cost me less than running a car. If I literally booked a taxi to go wherever I want to go, generally it'll cost me less than running a car every month, because the vast majority of the time it's going to sit outside the front door. And it's like thinking of things like that. That was like a big sort of thing of understanding like where my money goes every month. And that's what's made me be able to afford to take a pay cut and do something like this. And Neil Pallet says, I do want to buy new minis, especially those new Infinity military orders that are coming out in April. Yeah. Corvus Belly sent me an email last week saying would I like to take a look at those. So I said yes, because I love Infinity stuff. So yeah, hopefully I should get a set of those to kind of show off on the channel as well. So if they do arrive, we'll probably do a painting stream one week with them, show them off a little bit. Luke says, I'm really enjoying painting these Spectre Ops minis. I've not even heard of them, mate, if I'm honest. I wouldn't know one if I saw a picture. I'll have to do a bit of research and have a look at them. Did you say that? Are they for a board game or is it a miniatures game? Well, folks, I'm enjoying tonight. This is one of those kind of just rambly chats where there's not a chance I'm going to finish this mini tonight, but I really am just painting for the pleasure of it. I'm not trying to speed paint it. I'm not trying to rush through it. I'm just kind of like just picking out bits, seeing how it goes, just feeling it out. And you know what it is? Sometimes that's what painting's about. The painting does not have to be about, like, it doesn't have to be about painting to your best standard. It doesn't even have to be about finishing models. Sometimes it's just nice to just paint for painting's sake. I think I'm going to paint those horns on there, but we'll paint the skull a whiter colour, I think. We're going to kind of like do a bit of work on these and sort of shade them and highlight them a little bit and things, but I'm just kind of getting basic block colours in just to give it some sort of some inspiration. But it's a super nice sculpt. Jez Hunt says, Andy can possibly explain the horse punching thing. Wow, I'm a bit behind now. So what happened was Sunderland versus Newcastle in football at St James's Park in Newcastle. There was a lot of Sunderland fans and Newcastle fans who happened to be fighting outside of the stadium, sort of, you know, football hooligan trouble and stuff. So the police came in on their horses to try and break up the crowds. And one of the, I'm pretty sure it was one of the Newcastle fans. You got me doubting it now, thinking about it. But one of the Newcastle fans decided to punch the horse. It was all over the news about it. He punched the horse square in the face. I think they caught him. I think he got done for it as well, obviously for animal cruelty and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think he basically smacked the horse square in the face. Right, let me skim through, catch up some of this chat. Lawman says, I agree, I was better for myself that I changed jobs mentally. I don't care about money or value of things. I'd rather be happy and spend time with friends and good people than be rich. Yeah, 100%, mate. St. Louis Keith says, so where do they pile up the horse? You get a bit of whiff of that's for sure, mate. Tony Howell says, yeah, Brotherhood of Belial are all built. I'll get back that birthday cake, scenic base. Christian sharing the link for some of the Blackjack Legacy merch, the t-shirts and hoodies. Thank you very much, mate. Marcus said, what's this horse punching thing? Yes, I've just talked about that one. Jamie Moscow says, forget the neighbour's car. I'm jealous because I'm at work while I watch you drink. Come and join me, mate. Come and join me. John says, you are literally a fourth class citizen here without a car. Everything is miles from everything. There is that, like, as well. I mean, we live in a relatively small country in the UK. It's a little bit different. I think the difference is how much do you need to spend on a car? Because at the end of the day, it's like, you know, do you need a Mercedes or do you just need a kind of like a like a family runabout type thing? Luke says, you have hidden movement and tack it on a pad. Always have to figure out if they can't see you. Oh, okay. John says, I'll be 54 this year and still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. I don't want to grow up. That's my plan, mate, is not to grow up. Warwick, good evening, mate. Says, horses are real bitey. Not sure punching one is smart. They'll have thick skulls compared to how squishy your hand. Yeah, I think that's what the guy found out, to be fair, mate. Oh, I tell you what, that's another wonder I'm getting into it right at the end of the chat. I missed out loads of that stuff. That's well ahead. Krabby says, lovely up your way, Andy. I always enjoy being around the area, but bushes outside your bathroom window can do with a trim. We've just had them all cut back, mate. Casper's going to grab a homebrew. I've never made homebrew. My wife bought me some last Christmas, I think it was. It might have been Christmas before. I've still never got around to making it. Marcus is saying, yeah, City is huge. You can walk around here, but City is so spread out. It's easier to take the car. Yeah, we're not too far away from most places, to be fair, and public transport's not bad. Lord Maiden, where I live, is similar too. I have 2 fields, an old castle on the countryside, not far. The other side leads to the city centre. Yeah, it sounds like a similar type of thing, mate. Peter says, going for my job last weekend gave me the excuse to get the bike out. How was it, Peter? I've heard a few people saying they've had some kind of side effects and stuff, been a bit sore, felt a little bit sick for a few days. Have you been okay, mate? Have you been a bit knocked for six, or have you been okay, buddy? The way things are going, it looks like I'll not be that far off getting mine soon. I think they've dropped down to the next age range now, haven't they? I don't have any kind of like medical conditions or anything like that. That's kind of bumping me up the queue. So yeah, shouldn't be long. Where was this to? Lord Mins, I'd be lucky to have any kids at all. I really think that would happen for me, let alone. I tell you what, mate, never say never. You never know what's around the corner. You do have to start leaving the house though, like once this pandemic's over. That would help as well. Peter said, I thought I would miss the social aspect as well, you know, drunken brawls at the local bar such, but I guess what, internet trolling is a valid placebo. To be honest, mate, the kind of bars I go drinking in are not exactly kind of that kind of like drunken brawl stuff. They're much more kind of they're kind of quiet, more like sort of like bistro pub type things. Really, they're more like kind of like fancy restaurant really, to just kind of sit and have a quiet drink with a friend. My days of kind of like partying, I think, are long behind me now. Although to be fair, I do owe my 2 oldest sons a good party night. It was their 18th birthday in November, and obviously with all of the restrictions, I've not managed to actually even take them to a pub for a drink yet. So I said I would make it up to them once restrictions are lifted. So I think we're going to have a bit of a fancy night in Newcastle once things allow. Right. I think we're now going to pick out those teeth, the teeth that's in the stomach area there. We'll start to pick some of that out. In fact, I'm going to pick out first. I think we're going to go with Screamer Pink. I'm going to pick out some of that flesh. Peter says, just joking, I don't drink or fight. Tasty Brain Drain says, unconventional is good most of the time. Yes. Luke says, the FOMO is massive in the board game world. Yeah, it is, mate. Do you know what it is? I never experienced it in like video games. I've never really experienced it like in other sort of types of hobbies. I didn't really experience it when I was playing airsoft and things, but when I got into like tabletop gaming, I certainly used to experience it. Lord Tetrapan says, over 50, no kids, don't drive, don't own a mobile phone. Nothing typical here. Never been interested in what others do, but I am a contrary sod. No mobile phone is a good one, mate. Do you know what it is? I would like to go without a mobile phone, like almost go sort of cold turkey with like social media and stuff. But unfortunately, the job I do now, it's almost kind of part and parcel of what I do. But I must admit, things like Twitter and stuff, I have very carefully kind of sort of finely pruned the things that that are in my feed. So my feed is essentially pretty much just all hobby stuff. Like even the hobby people I follow, if the majority of the stuff that they're posting about isn't really hobby stuff, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's entirely their choice. It's their kind of feeds and stuff. But if they're more intent on posting about sort of political activists and all that kind of stuff, I generally kind of unfollow them or kind of just block it, because not because I don't like those people or anything like that. just because I don't really want to get sort of pulled. I don't want my feed full of that kind of stuff. I made a point of watching a lot less news through the pandemic because it was starting to kind of depress me, like that feeling of just impending doom all the time and constantly telling me how many people are dead. Like that was becoming very negative. So I made a point of just really pulling back on that kind of controversial sort of news feeds, and it made me a lot happier. But I must admit, if I didn't do this for a job, if I had a normal kind of 9 to 5 job or something that didn't need me to be involved in social media, I would seriously consider kind of sort of pulling away from it completely. I don't really post any kind of personal stuff really. I post about what I've been painting. I kind of post kind of like hobby stuff. Like anybody that's friends with me on Facebook will see I don't really kind of post anything on my own personal sort of feed or anything like that. I just like to keep my personal stuff personal, really. So yeah, I would certainly consider going cold turkey on that kind of stuff if I could. John says, I have ancestors who were hung for horse thievery. Wow, mate. Krabby says, I just don't get the idea of buying anything for anyone else's appeasement. Confuses the effort on me. Yeah, do you know what it is, mate? I think it's way more common than you think. I think and I think people who do it don't realise they do it either. I think the more you look at it, things like sort of people who spend vast sums of money on designer clothes and stuff. I appreciate, if you've got nice clothes on and stuff, it might make you feel a bit special, a bit important or whatever. But essentially, it is about other people noticing what you're wearing, kind of thing. I think there's a lot of it these days with that kind of sort of Instagram culture and of people kind of wanting to be noticed and wanting to kind of show off and things. I think there's a lot of that. It's a bit different when you're a 40-odd-year-old bloke. Those days of spending money on designer clothes are long behind me now. But that's not to say I didn't used to do it. Right. So this bit around the face is meant to be kind of like ripped off skin, ripped off kind of bare flesh type stuff. Let me catch up a bit now. Peter says, when I want to grow up, I want to be Peter Coombe. Tizzy Brain Drain says, I really would love to see those Infinity Minis. Yeah, mate, me too as well. I love Infinity Minis, and I do like the panel stuff. So yeah, if they said would I be interested in seeing them, and I said yes, but then that's the last I've heard of it. They just asked me to confirm my address in case it had changed since the last time they sent me anything. So yeah, I do like that stuff. Right, is there anything else I have to paint kind of pinky flesh anywhere? I don't think there is. He's got something on his arm that I need to paint. I can't see what that is. It almost looks... I might paint that he's got two sort of bands around here. We might paint that to kind of make it stand out a little bit. In fact, I might paint those red so it ties in with the snake and stuff. That might be a good idea. So right, we'll start to pick. Just paint some more out there. And we'll start to pick out the teeth there on the stomach as well. Christian there sharing the link for the merch. Thank you very much, Christian. Grafting hard tonight, mate. Thank you. And that's when we start, and that's the point where I jump to, so I can catch back up now. Right, let me. I'll tell you what. Before I do that, let me have a little chat here. We'll catch up. We'll catch up in the chat. Let me know where I am here. Where was it? There it was, right. Paul was saying it was a Newcastle fan, and whilst I don't condone rioting, that guy's a legend. I think it's a little hypocritical to charge someone with animal cruelty for punching what is essentially a warhorse. I don't disagree with that bit, actually, mate. Peter says, when I grow up, I want to be 18 again. Maybe being happier is a good aim. I think it's a funny one, mate. I think it is... I think being happy shouldn't be the aim. I think being happy should be a side effect of just trying to kind of make the most of the moment and stuff. I don't think you can ever I don't think being happy as an end goal is a sustainable or attainable thing. I think being happy because of what you do is a side effect of that. And I think that's kind of where, like, that's my mentality really. I'm not trying to be happy. I'm trying to kind of do stuff that I enjoy and spend time with the people that I enjoy to spend time with. And then the side effect of that is happiness and kind of fulfillment. Overbite says, if someone's social media channel starts getting some traction and first companies start getting in touch for various collaboration, what should one be aware of? Your experience. From my experience, mate, it is, first of all, make sure it's something that you're sort of genuinely interested in. There's nothing worse than basically just grasping the first opportunity that comes along because somebody's reached out to you. I turn down, I get contacted by lots of different companies and lots of different things. I turn down a lot more than I accept because it's just not stuff that I'm particularly interested in. It's not stuff that I think my audience wants to see. I've laughed a few times on the streams about, I've been contacted about doing swimwear stuff. I've been asked to do like sort of like video game sort of accessories and things. Like none of it is relevant to me. So whilst it'd be nice to get some free stuff, it's just kind of like selling out really. That's a personal opinion. So what I would say was to be aware of, first of all, make sure it's stuff that you're interested in. It's stuff that you would use yourself. Second of all, what's in it for them? What, like, sort of make sure that you're not basically just being a salesman for them. Like be honest. If you're going to do a review of something, be very upfront and tell them that. Like if you don't like it, you'll be honest about it and you'll tell people that you don't like it, kind of thing. I think just being like sort of have integrity basically. I think that's the thing to watch out for. Don't feel that you have to say nice things because somebody's sending you something for free. At the end of the day, if they want you to review something, they have to sort of supply the product. Otherwise, you can't review it, can you? It's not like you're just getting free stuff. It's part and parcel of being able to kind of to do that. So yeah, just that's what I would suggest. That just be honest with them. Just ask them why. Where did they find you? Why do you think you're a good fit for them as well? And are they a good fit for you? Like if, for example, I'm just paraphrasing here, but if your channel is all just GW stuff and all your audience are just interested in GW stuff, does it do you any favors to get involved with another company that most of your audience wouldn't be the slightest bit interested in? Like, think about it from that point of view, I would say. Blizzard says, just sent my submission for the Dreadball team. Thank you very much, mate. Warwick saying, in the States, doing anything like hitting a police horse or a dog is the same as assaulting an officer of the law. Gets you in the same charges. Yeah, same here as well, mate. To be fair, same here. Tasty Brain Drink says, I'm not that far behind. I'm 46 and I don't know what I want to be when I grow up either. Yeah, I'm 46 as well, mate. And I kind of like, am I 46? I'm 46 this year. I'm 45 at the moment. God, that's when you know you're old, when you've got to count back. Yeah, I was 45 last year. Lord Tetapans, I had the overnight shivers from the jab, but was okay, just a sore arm. That's good, mate. Krabby says he's had his jab. He's off work for 2 days with a massive headache, but paracetamol will. I'm fine now. Yeah, I've heard those kind of things. Like, side effects are like not nice, but it's not like sort of debilitating type thing, if you like. Peter says, I felt really tired the second day after the jab. Not too bad. That's good, mate. Peter said, my wife didn't have anything from the first one. Second one, however, was a lot worse. Sore for 3 days. Interesting, mate. Martin said, since he got his second vaccine in 6 days, he'd be allowed to go out and meet up with friends who've also been vaccinated. Yeah, it's different here, that, mate. Even when you've had your vaccine, you can't do that here. John saying that's what I have an Instagram for, strictly hobby and art subjects. If I want news, I have a better place to go. Yeah, I'm kind of like that as well, mate. Peter says I'm big and hugging people much more when my dad died. I began hugging people much more after my dad died. Friends and family only, of course, but I miss it. Yeah, I know what you mean, mate. Yoakum says, I've been curious about Zombicide, but the numbers of minis in that Kickstarter actually scared me away. Although the minis look awesome, I'd rather pick it up when it comes in the stores. You certainly won't get the level of minis that you'll get in the Kickstarter, but I know what you mean. It's quite daunting to get that much stuff sometimes. Peter says, I must admit, I'm shying away from Facebook lately. I go on straight to the Blackjack group or any other model group, but I stopped looking at other stuff. Too much bitching lately. I know what you mean, mate. I literally, my feed is just full of the different groups that I'm in, really. I mean, I'm kind of like, people add me as a friend on Facebook, and people are welcome to do that. If you want to add me as a Facebook friend, feel free, but I don't post anything in my personal feed. So you won't see anything from me, kind of thing. Anything I post on Facebook goes in the Blackjack group, really. Or if I go to like the Cursed City, the Warhammer Quest Cursed City page, I might kind of like post in there or answer some stuff. Same with Warcry bits and pieces. Same on the Mantic pages. But it's all hobby related or all that kind of stuff. I don't really post like kind of like my holiday snaps or any of that kind of stuff. I know other people do, and there's nothing wrong with that, but that's not what I use it for. Krabby says, I often purge myself from social media. Super negatively affects my mental health and productivity levels. It's always refreshing. It's quite interesting. I mean, there are people I genuinely like, sort of like them as people. I've got no problems with them. There's not like anything. I don't have an issue with them. But some people post a lot of stuff on Facebook that is just not what I want to read, really. Whether it's about like sort of too much personal information, sometimes I don't necessarily want to see. Or if it's like a lot of excessive political stuff or sort of like or just negative stuff, really. It's just like they're lovely people. I just don't want to have to kind of read all that stuff, so I tend to filter some of that out. Lobian says, same here. I don't tend to post on Facebook. Prefer the Patreon Discord. Yeah, it's one of the reasons I like the Patreon. I mean, we still get off topic. We still talk about things that's happening in the world and stuff, but it tends to be a lot more respectful. And I think because it's a much more immediate conversation. It's not like posting into the Facebook ether for the entire world to see. The Patreon chat is like, it's kind of like friends chatting with each other type thing. So yeah, I know what you mean. It almost feels like a safer environment to say something, because you know it's not just going to be taken out of context and kind of trolled, if you like. Paul says, I have done the same with Facebook. Well over 300 friends, but I have less than 20 people who are regularly active who I haven't unfollowed. Most of the friends are acquaintances. Yeah, a lot of people kind of like add me, and I won't necessarily know who they are. I'll have a look, and I assume it's somebody from the chat or something like that, or it's somebody who's kind of watched the YouTube stuff or whatever. And it's fine if people want to be friends, if they want to send me sort of like DMs or anything like that. That's absolutely fine. But like I say, I don't really post anything. If you want to see the stuff I post, the Blackjack Legacy group on Facebook, my Instagram or my Twitter feed basically is where I post all different kind of hobby stuff. Tony says, I'm completely 100% normal. I even appear as grayscale in the mirror. Lord Taylor Pine says, never had a smartphone, never had a Facebook account, and never even been on Twitter. I just don't like those parts of modern life, so I totally abstain. Just YouTube. Can I ask, if you've never been on, how do you know you don't like those parts of life? Because I'll be honest, Facebook and Twitter can be cesspools, but they also, like, I've found a lot of stuff by being on there. I've met a lot of friends, kind of like gaming wise, because of being on there. I think as long as you curate them enough, as long as you kind of prune them and make sure that you only fill your feed with the stuff you want to see and block out the stuff you don't want to see. I mean, it's work. You've got to kind of make the effort to do that. But there's a lot of uses for that kind of stuff as well. John says, on the Armstrong side of the family, we were horse thieves and thugs. You terrible people. Yeah, strictly YouTube and Instagram. Don't need or want the other crap. Where was this? I just jumped ahead again. Tony says, I've got a few designer t-shirts from Blackjack Legacy. Yeah, okay, that. Yeah, if you do want to spend money on merchant, on clothing, yeah, 100%. Marcus says, yeah, showing off your skills or just talking about crazy stuff that you've seen or done in your life is just sharing. But people get impress others with expensive stuff. I just don't get. Yeah, I used to know somebody who the first thing they would say is like, guess how much this costs. Like that was their kind of their patter. Yeah. John says, last thing I need or desire is to see or hear from the people I went to high school with. I'm not friends with anybody I went to school with. I'm not friends with anybody I used to work with, I don't think. Some of the stuff on like my friends, like things, it's like family members, like my sister and my dad, and like they tend to use it a bit more, and I'll see some stuff that they're up to. Like even my kids are not on it. Like they don't use Facebook. They say it's for old people. John Estel says that model looks grotesque in all the right ways. It's starting to come along, mate. Like starting to kind of pick out the bits. I think it needs a bit more texture. We might have to still maybe put a little bit more wash back into it at some point. It's starting to look a little flat, but I think we might get that with a little bit of highlighting. Oh, I've just saw there. I've missed an eye there. Is that yellow still? The beauties of a wet palette. Can still get there. There we go. Yeah, it's starting to come along. Right, let's go back. I'll have my beer and have a bit of chat as well. Christian sharing the link there for Amazon as well. Thank you very much, folks. Don't forget, folks, as well, Audible. There's a link for Audible on the bottom of every one of my videos as well. If you want a free audio book, if you want a month's free Audible trial, if you click that link, you can get through. You get 30 days free access. You can just cancel the account. You can cancel it. You can join Audible. You can download a book and you can cancel it the same day. You still get to keep the book. And I make a small commission for sending you that way as well. So that's another way you can support the channel too. Paul says, I maintain contact with precisely one person from school and I game with him. Yeah, I've not kept in contact with anybody I went to school with. John saying, yeah, being happy isn't an end goal but a consequence. Not a good plan, learned the hard way. Yeah. Scott Evening All says, sorry I'm late. Don't worry, mate. Nice to see you. John Ashley says, boat anchors. 100%, mate. Yeah. Scott says, Andy, did you get my email with my Dreadball team submission? I'm pretty sure I did, mate. They basically automatically go to a file, but I'm sure I saw yours come through. I'll let you know if I didn't, but I'm pretty sure you sent yours a while ago, I think, didn't you? John saying you couldn't pay me to take this vaccine. Totally unneeded. Do you know what it is? I've got like sort of different thoughts about it. People are entitled to their opinions. If people don't want a vaccine or something like that, if they're kind of completely against it, it's kind of up to them at the end of the day. Like, life is too short for me to worry about what other people are doing. One thing I kind of learned when I was doing all my kind of like looking into positive stuff and things, there are precisely two things in this world that you can control. You can control what you think and you can control what you do. And anything outside of that, don't worry about it. If somebody else is kind of moaning about vaccines or something like that, they're entitled to their opinion, but just there's no point going on an internet rant and trying to kind of convince them otherwise. Just pass on by. That's why I like kind of thing when people complain about, I'm sick of seeing so and so posting all their YouTube videos on Facebook. It's like, just scroll past it. Don't worry about it. Just scroll past it. It's not harming you. It's not going to hurt you, kind of thing. Paul says, people were a little fond of reminding me of my hobbies when I was at school. It wasn't hardcore bullying or anything, but it didn't make me particularly popular. It's funny that, isn't it? Like those kind of things. Like I wasn't really into this sort of hobby when I was at school. I was kind of sporty and stuff like that, but I wouldn't say I was like one of like the popular kids or anything like that. I was kind of one of the in-betweeners, I guess. John says, I did all the hobbies I do now in high school and wasn't afraid who knew. Yeah, I just didn't do them. And Scott says, congratulations on the Mantic Hobby Hero. We love you, oh Messiah. Thank you very much, mate. John says, not taking a vaccine for an illness, 99.95% recover from. Yeah, everyone, like I said before, everybody's got their own opinions, and it's absolutely fine. Where are we up to? Blizzard says, I almost never post personal stuff on Facebook. I think the last thing was about the guy with the Hidden Valley Ranch dressing packet tattoo. That kind of, I don't mind seeing like funny stuff. Like when people post like little kind of like sort of like funny images and stuff, that kind of just brightens your day. I'm all right with that kind of stuff. I just don't need to know that somebody had an argument in Asda kind of thing. John says, do you play any of the Osprey games? I've played a little bit of Gaslands, mate. But generally, I also have Last Days as well, Ash Barker's game. But other than that, mate, I've not really seen a lot of the Osprey stuff. The unfollow button is the best part of Facebook. Tizzy Braindrin says, yeah, I have a love-hate relationship with Facebook. I love it because it's allowed me to reconnect with a lot of old friends I lost touch with and stay in touch with some others. I'm pretty garbage, I'll be honest, at keeping in touch with people. Like, I'm not intentionally ignorant or anything like that. I'm just not sort of good at maintaining friendships. I think it's one of the things in my life I would like to change. It's a mental thing. Like I have to make an effort to kind of to reach out to people and stuff like that, and I'm not great at it, I'll be honest. I never tried lots of things I know I wouldn't like, mate. There is that, mate, as well. You know what they say, don't knock until you've tried it. Blizzard said, I'm going to wait just long enough to see if any of you turn into zombies. Yeah. Scott says, my mother just said to me today when I told her I wasn't going to get the vaccine, I'm not welcome in her house if I don't get it. Do you know what? Like, people, I just think people are entitled to like their opinions. Kind of think people are entitled to their choice. It's a choice. I'm massively against things being forced on people. But what I do hate at the minute is that everything is so polarizing. It just feels at the minute, and that's one thing that social media and the news and everything's done, is it's basically turned people against each other, and it's one of the reasons why I blot all of that stuff out now. It's a weird world at the minute where everything is black or white. Like there's no room in the middle to just have an opinion or have a, like, you know, it's weird. It's a weird thing. Warwick says, having known people who died from it personally, so it's not something I think others should be laughing at. Haha, they died. No, I don't think anybody's kind of laughing about anybody dying, are they? Peter Cini plays Lion and Dragon Rampant. Just bought all those Zulos. I've heard about Lion Rampant and Dragon Rampant. I've heard they're good games. John saying Gasland rocks. Pure free-form modelling. Haven't had this much fun gaming since my teens. And Chris says, I can't print what I feel about Peter refusing the vaccine. I think that at the end of the day, mate, like, everybody has a choice. Because I don't really want to go into it here, but like, it doesn't really matter what other people do. You can't influence them. You can try, but it's a kind of a fruitless task. But at the end of the day, you look after yourself and you look after your family. And everybody else does what everybody else does, but if you worry about what everybody else is doing, it's a long road to being very unhappy. I'll be honest. Where are we up to? Peter saying, okay, I get this isn't the place where this goes in. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Luke said, I did not come in tonight for anti-vax. Yeah, exactly, mate. It's not about that. Lord Technopants says, was anybody else a bit disappointed in the artwork for the Curse City tiles this week? To be honest, mate, it was nice, but it's nothing like, it's not groundbreaking the way they were trying to make out. It feels like they're dragging it out now a bit. It's almost like it was meant to come out sooner, and now they're kind of like dragging out the information. I'd rather they told us about the gameplay now rather than showing us the artwork of the tiles. It just seems a bit random. Anyway, where are we up to? 10-2. How's this doing? We'll crack it and go back and do what I was doing. Luke says, I liked them. The aesthetic surprised me a little. I just don't think it's kind of... It's not groundbreaking, is it exactly? I mean, they're nice. But I don't think anybody's buying that game for the artwork on the tiles, I'll be honest. As nice as it is, I don't think that's the main motivator for most people. Marcus is saying, Lord Maiden says, I found them okay, but like Blackjack said, I don't think they should have showed what's in the box as early as they did. Yeah, I almost think that they've peaked too early. It's as if they were getting ready to release it and something's happened and now it's like, oh God, what do we do? Like, we need to show something. I know. Let's show the artwork on the tab. They'll be showing us the artwork on the tokens next week. Like, maybe I'm just being a bit cynical about it. But it does feel like they've peaked, really early with what they're sharing. Like they showed us pretty much everything that's in the box, and then now it's like, oh. Like it's an anticlimax a little bit. I feel like a similar thing happened with Star Wars Legion. They peaked really early as well when they shared stuff, and then almost like the energy kind of fell out of it. And I'm hoping this doesn't happen for Cursed City, to be honest, because I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, it doesn't change anything for me personally, but I think if there's like if it's going to drag on too much longer, I think what they do is they're the masters of hyping people up. But if you get the timing wrong, it ends up backfiring on you a bit. Blizz says, thinking about silver Venators for Mythos. Yeah, they're nice, mate, those ones. Luke says, I gave them a quick glance, but it did not scream vampire-ridden city. No, not considering it's not like the vampires have arrived at a city. Like the vampires took over the city a long time ago and they've made it their city. Like I expected it to be a bit kind of darker in tone, but maybe we haven't seen everything yet. I guess that's the other side of it as well. Warwick saying, GW going to show you all the pictures of things in the box. On release, we find out some of those tiles will come in an additional pack. Yeah, there's been a bit of that recently, but hopefully we're not. Well, we've seen a lot of those tiles on the original images, haven't we? So yeah, fingers crossed on that one. John says the models look wicked and like they'd be a blast of paint, but I doubt I'll end up with any. Yeah, I'm massively looking forward to it. I'm really excited for the game. I don't even mind like a slow build up to it, like sort of building anticipation. But it's almost like when they showed that big reveal on that Saturday on the Games Workshop reveals day thing, I just feel like they peaked a little bit early with it now. Like it's kind of I'd rather because the way they were doing it was they were every Thursday they were showing us something new, and actually that wasn't a bad little kind of like drip feed build up to it. Yes, it was frustrating, it wasn't coming sooner and stuff, but it was a nice way to kind of to build up the interest in the game. But it's like a horror film, isn't it? Once you've seen the monster, it stops being scary anymore. This is like once you've seen everything that's coming, it stops getting exciting. Yeah. All we're waiting for now really is a release date because we know everything else. Sounds like a few people going to pass on it. Carrie, have you seen the Warhammer Studios' latest developments? It looks exciting. It does me actually. I was quite surprised, if I'm honest, because the guy that does his starties has a Patreon, and his Patreon makes some bloody good coin. I wouldn't mind being a pound behind him, that's for sure. So it's interesting that he's obviously gone down that route. I wonder if there's been an element of striking a deal, as if to say, well, you're now making money from making that fan fiction type stuff, which means you're now infringing on copyright. So how about you come and make the second one for us, and we don't go after your money for the first one, kind of thing. So I do wonder whether there's more to it in the background. But yeah, I remember seeing his Patreon, and he makes like thousands and thousands a month from that. Blizzard saying, have they announced the price yet? No, that we're still waiting on a price, mate. Marcus says, I bet a few weeks after the game comes out, someone will make 3D tiles and walls, which will be super cool. I mean, I'm sure somebody will make it, but it's not a game that you need it, mate. It's like, at the end of the day, like, terrain isn't important. It's a board game. Like, nobody went and did that for kind of Silver Tower, I don't think. So whilst you could do it, and I don't think anybody really went massively overboard for, what was it called, Blackstone Fortress either. So whilst like, you could do that kind of stuff, it doesn't need it. If you're doing it because it's a nice little project, absolutely knock yourself out. But it is essentially, like, the top and bottom of it is it's a board game. Peter said, I was getting fed up with not knowing what it would cost. I just left Curse City for what it is and just spent all my cash. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, that's GW. They don't officially tell you what it costs until pre-order weekend. However, the pre-order weekend goes up on a Saturday, but they tell all of the retailers that the Monday before what the price is. So I always get to find out the official price on the Monday before it's going to come out. So every Monday morning, I always check the releases for Games Workshop. And if it's something exciting like Curse City, then it tends to trigger something like one of my Monday night live streams. We'll talk about it then. But if it's something that I'm not that interested in myself, even if it's new information that, like if all of a sudden there was a new thing for Adeptus Titanicus or something and the price comes out, I'll know the price and I'll kind of share it with Patreons and things like that. But it's not. It's not necessarily something I would necessarily trigger like a Monday night live stream or something like that. But yeah, if it's something I'm excited about, something I'm interested in, 100% we'll talk about it. And it's not a leak as such. It's the official price. Some people think like when you talk about it, they go, well, how do you know for sure the price doesn't come out until like Saturday? And it's like, well, because all of the retailers have just been sent this information, or they've gone online to access this information because they need to put their orders in. They need to know how much it costs. They need to know what's coming, kind of thing. So yeah, so I get to find out on a Monday what the Games Workshop pricing is going to be for that week. This week, the only thing for pre-order this week was White Dwarf. Let me scroll back a little bit there. Lord Tetrapan says, I actually decided to get that Adeptus Titanicus starter instead of Curse City as I had some Titans for display already and got the start of a 70. That's alright, mate, isn't it? Lord Main says, same here, I would get it for personal reasons, but it's given time for the hype to die down and people to really think if they want it and not go FOMO. Yeah, maybe it's an intentional thing. Maybe they've not got enough to go around. It could be maybe they realise they've kind of like they've maybe misunderstood the hype for it or something like that. But yeah, I mean, we do know that originally the book was meant to come out in March, so potentially there's been a bit of a delay to it, unless it's going to be, I don't think it's going to be next Monday's, because it looks like, I forget what it's called now, but that new 40k box looks like it's going to be this week's, next week, sorry, it's going to be next week's pre-orders. So yeah, we'll see when we see, as they say. Warwick says, if the issue with the reveals and the box being different and editing has to do with people doing the previews don't actually have all the data to do it, they need to stop reveals so early. I think it's because they're such a big company, mate. They've got two different departments, and I think it sounds like they don't always speak to each other. The people that work for Warhammer Community, who do all of the internet stuff, are not necessarily that knowledgeable about stuff, and I think I get the impression things change and they maybe haven't been given the latest information. So, or they've been given the wrong information. I mean, it happens. They're a company. They're not immune to like making mistakes. What they don't do is basically kind of like apologise for those mistakes or own up them and say, look, we dropped the clanger here. Really sorry, kind of thing. That would be what it needs. Like in instance with the kill team stuff, that's exactly what should have happened. There should have been a bit of a public, like we're sorry this happened. We made a mistake. But yeah. But mistakes, you know, they're human. Companies are not this like sort of nameless, faceless thing. They're full of human beings who make mistakes. John says, I have to get airbrush parts. I can't buy more models until I do. Luckily, I've never had to buy any airbrush parts for mine. Peter says, I'm a bit annoyed with myself for getting into Indomitus hype, but not for buying it, which I'm very happy with. I know what you mean, mate. I got caught up in 8th edition 40k the same way and then did nothing at all with it. I bought all of the indexes. I don't even think I opened them, and by that point the codexes were starting to come out. John says, I'd get the Adeptus Titanicus starter before Curse City 2. Yeah, Adeptus Titanicus is not something that particularly interests me, to be fair. I'm really looking forward to Curse City. It's definitely my kind of thing. Paul says 3D tiles were a thing for Space Hulk. Yeah, but I think I'm sure people will make 3D tiles. Do you know what I mean? I'm sure some people will, but it doesn't need it. Krabby says the Tau one looks interesting. Yeah, I like the Tau one, mate. I watched that one today. It looked pretty good. It does look fresh. Luke says, what's the Warhammer Studio development? Essentially, there's a few people who've made some like fan sort of things, you know, like the Astartes animated stuff, who've all come on board to a part of the Warhammer extended studio team, doing the doing like, so there's another like a second part of Adeptus that's in development with the original guy doing it. Busey said, is the time to set off the Darth Vader print yet, mate? I set it off before the live stream started, mate. It's been going since about, what time was it I started it? About 8 o'clock. So it'll be done by about 10 o'clock in the morning, mate. Peter chatting about it. So Peter said, I must admit I almost skipped on the Zulus, as the place I ordered from had a copy of Dark Uprising in stock. I think it's still available, isn't Dark Uprising? I think you can buy it most places. Warwick saying, isn't there a Sisters and Lilith box coming this Saturday? Yeah, that's the one, mate. I forget what the name of it is, but that's this weekend's pre-orders coming up. No, not this weekend's pre-orders. Next weekend's pre-orders, I think. And Peter says, yeah, sounds like a big company all right. The front doesn't know where the back is. Yeah, I think that's pretty much what it is. I mean, all big companies are the same. It's just that most companies don't have like sort of like Facebook groups sort of like waiting on their every word kind of thing, like, and you don't get to see half of what goes on behind the scenes. Like nobody's kind of like sort of holding Amazon to the same kind of standards. Nobody's holding kind of Asda or Tesco or something. They're not waiting on every little kind of notification and word from them. It tends to be much more with kind of hobby type stuff. And I think the internet and Facebook and stuff has meant that these companies need to accept that people feel closer to the companies. They feel like they've got a vested interest in what goes on because they're part of the hobby. So yeah. Lord Min says, do you think we could have a quick look at what you mean when you say pause the printing to look at it, please? I'm intrigued about it. I can't make it, unfortunately, because I don't have the camera set up. Like the camera was just set up for the live stream on Monday. But essentially what happens is, let me just wash my brush. Essentially what happens is on the touch screen. So basically, the print bed comes down to the right layer, and then basically it exposes with UV light the sort of the negative image of what it's printing on that layer, and then it basically lifts off the print bed to free it. And then it comes back down and the image changes to the next layer and it exposes it again. And while it's doing that, there's a pause button that you can press. And if you press the pause button, basically what happens is it remembers where it is. It finishes that cycle, and then the entire bed lifts up with all of the stuff, the structure that's being printed on it. The bed lifts up and it stops, so you can kind of inspect it and make sure it's working properly. Because the problem you've got is, how can I show this? Let me show it like this. If you think that is let me go on the screen. If you think that is the bed with the resin in, and the white bit at the bottom is the screen that's printing, if it was printing, let's just say this model, the bit that's printing, if I take it like that, you can't see the thing that's being printed, so you've no idea whether it's failing or whether it's doing a good job or anything. So what it does is if you pause it, it essentially does that, and you get to see what it's doing, and then you click, yeah, it's fine, press play again, and it goes back down, and it continues to print again. I hope that explains what I mean. Because basically, because the resin bath is about maybe 20-30 mil deep, and it's full of resin, and the bit that's printing is right at the bottom of that resin tank, you can't see what it's doing. So essentially, you don't see if it's failed and you don't press pause. It takes about 2 hours to do that kind of 20-30 millimeters. So it takes you about 2 or 3 hours for it to get out of the bath to then go, oh, it's failed. And I didn't realize that the first time I did. I didn't realize you could pause it and kind of see where it's at. But Lord Maiden, I'll tell you what I'll do, mate. We'll try and do like a little video on the Patreon Discord. We'll go in the chat or something, and I'll show you at some point, mate. Lord Technopan says it saddens me GW couldn't muster an apology. They just changed the pages. I think sometimes, mate, these kind of things with companies, it's sometimes better to say nothing than it is to kind of to own up to it a little bit. I think that's kind of sometimes like say nothing and hope it goes away. Busey says I used the press the pause button, but I don't now. I think it can cause a problem. I think it can. It's not caused any problems when I've done it, mate. But at the minute, I am still making that many adjustments and getting failed prints and learning stuff. I'd rather know, because there's no point me setting it away for 3 or 4 hours to find out that it failed in the first kind of like 2 or 3 layers or something. So I've been using it just to double check, but it's been fine. I've had no issues with it, thankfully. And Lord Bates says, okay, cool, I look forward to it. Right, folks, I think I'm going to call it a night there. It's 11:05. This is where we got to. I knew this was going to just be one of those kind of plodding away, kind of painty nights. But this is where we got to. It's looking a lot less yellowy now. It's sort of got a mixture of a few browns in there. I think we might, if I pull that across a bit, that's probably a bit better light. We might be able to kind of like we might need a bit more of a wash in that brown, I think, just to darken down some of the recesses and stuff. And I think what we'll do is we'll, around these fur bits around the bottom and stuff, and maybe down the back, we'll do a little bit more dry brushing with a small dry brush and sort of lift it up a little bit. But yeah, we'll crack on with that one, I think, later on this week and get it finished off. Everyone's having a bit of a chat there. Christian's saying there, pausing the print can cause problems. Layer shifts can happen, but if your temperature is constant, it should be okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm literally talking about like just kind of pause it, lift it up. If it looks fine, straight back down again, kind of thing. And I don't keep doing that. It's more at the minute. It's just to get where I've been getting these breaking away from the end of the struts. I'd rather know at that point rather than waiting until it's kind of 4 or 5 hours into a build or something and going back in later. And Busey saying that's why I like the transparent tanks. You can just see through it. I'm not sure I'd be able to see through, mate, with the like with the resin and stuff. The resin's great unless you get transparent resin as well, and try and kind of shine a light through it or something like that. Luke Pryor says, been a pleasure as always. Thank you very much, mate. John saying thank you for the stream and chat. Thanks to the great people. Got a spill. See ya. Thank you very much. Christian sharing a link to Patreon as well there. I really do appreciate it. If you're not a member of the Patreon and you want to check it out and understand a bit more about it, I really would appreciate it if you click that link and check it out. Everyone's saying good night and thank you. And Peter says, why does Andy's hobby night always seem more successful than mine? Sorry, bud. And Blizzard says, great stream as always. Night, you hooligans. Yes, on that note, I will see you. I mean, there might be more videos this week, but I will certainly see you next Monday night live stream. So yeah, take care, folks, and we'll see you then. Thanks for watching my video. I hope that you really enjoyed it. And if you did, why not consider clicking on the suggested video below to see more of the work that I've done. If you'd like to support the long-term sustainability of this channel, why not consider checking out my Patreon, where you can pledge and support from as little as $2 a month. and there is lots of different tiers and bonuses which will give you access to a private Discord server. It will give you free t-shirts, free mugs, a podcast every month, and a number of other things, including getting your name at the end of every video, like these awesome folks who already support me now.